now we play the game. Is my chat still broken? Because for all I know, it's not working no more. And that would really suck, but I have no way of testing that. I suppose I do have a way of testing if folks come in. So I can see you. Hello and boop, and it is... Oh, they're here. You know what? I did nothing. I tried nothing. Nothing worked. And then nothing worked. You feel? Let's go! So, today, we have a special stream. Not because it's a special event, but purely because it is me... Well, it's me being kind of silly. Sorry, my can't save my changes. Please copy my recent edits. Unable to recreate some drawings. No. Okay, so what I do is on my private account, on my personal account, I have been working on a TTRPG, and obviously I don't want to dox myself, so I throw it on like another account, on my creator account. And thus, that ends up being that every time I transfer the data over, it doesn't actually work. You've tried nothing, nothing worked. Thank you, nothing. Exactly. Thank you, Odysseus. So, oh, beans. Real quick. So, we're a cave creature today. Hello. Hi. Hi. So I've realized that since I am a 3D model, I can just do stuff like, okay, so I'm going to be looking up at this, if you don't mind. Like, I can just be like over here. And like, I can position myself here next to the fire. This is as best as I could do to represent being in a cave environment. I'm not going to lie. Ignore the white bars on the side. This is the best I can do. It's thematic though, because if we're talking Xeneolithic, no, don't turn your back on us. Are you that needy? Are you that needy that I need to like be staring at you as? Do I just have to work like this the entire time? Just like, oh, beans, I can't. Frick, criminy. Ah, oh, heck, I revert the changes. Now the changes don't even work. This is what you do. This is what happens when I can't look at the work that I'm working on. Hold on one moment. Maybe I can do it like page by page, which is not ideal. However, really what I want to work on right now, which I can just copy this section. Where is this section? The thing I want to work on today, and I would love your assistance on, because, well, frankly, the reason I'm doing this live is because I want input, is travel and exploration. A VTuber in their natural environment. This is the opposite of a natural environment. Actually, no, a cave. A cave fits very well. Let's try getting an EG. I don't know what that means. How are they going to read if they're looking at it? That's what I'm saying. I'm arrow writes, not arrow reads. So I suppose I could like right behind me. So like, if you see behind me, it's just like, hello, everyone. Wait. I've been writing recently. Did you know this? I didn't know this. I only started doing this like the other week. I have been so busy with video editing and TTRPGs and everything on the channel. I have neglected my prose for like 2.5 years. And like last week I went to a writing group and I grabbed my manuscript from a couple years ago and I started editing it. And then I went again the other day and then I continued editing it. I'm so back. I've been actually writing. Arrow writes writing is real. However, I have found that with my updated sensibilities, taste, and skill, I want to rewrite the entire thing, which I'm willing to do. I am more than willing to rewrite all of my work. However, because I'm editing. Like I have an entire novel and then I'm going back and page by page, line by line, I'm basically rewriting everything. I already swapped out the first chapter with the second chapter, like taking a section from the first chapter, adding it to the third chapter, because like all of this stuff. But I'm actually writing, which I'm very happy about. Would this topic go into open world design? So what we're doing, like legitimately, what we're doing here is I'm working on a TTRPG where you are a Stone Age civilization, think like Spore, and you are a species evolving to adapt to a world where magic can no longer sustain your needs. You no longer can rely on the ambient magic in the world to just kind of like give you reproduction and like energy consumption and like respiration. You have to actually develop lungs, and you have to actually develop a mouth, and you have to develop a stomach, and like whatever, like a hard shell egg production. That's the core of the system. And with that, I wanted this to be an exploration oriented system. This system treats combat identically to a skill check. This system, which I can also grab the rules for, like rules, I suppose. So this is a wholesale original TTRPG I've been working on. I started working on it last year. This is one that I was like, yeah, I want to make this like an actual thing. And then I was focused on other projects. So real quick, hi. Hello. I'm Arrow. If you don't know me, I'm a writer, TTRPG designer. Oh my gosh, I'm a TTRPG dev. I've made multiple TTRPGs now. I'm a VTuber. In case you couldn't tell, it's not worth watching my content. On YouTube, we have streams. I am the chaotic factor that will light up your life, whether you want it to or not. And say hi if you are in chat. If you are watching the VOD, if you are a lurker, feel free to say hi. I will say hello to you. I wasn't going to do this. It feels anathema not to add in a Q&A section. So, Unga Bunga Boonga Boo. Ask, while speaking in caveman, ask a question or two. That's my Q&A prompt. My Q&A is Unga Bunga Boonga Boo. While speaking in caveman, ask a question or two. So if you want, you can shoot me a question in the Q&A section. That will just kind of be in a side chat that I will come back to later. Oh my gosh. That will be in a side chat that I'll come back to later, probably at the end of stream. Today's stream, I don't plan on being longer than like 2 hours. I plan on being productive. I plan on working with all of you to make a great exploration system. I already have like the bones of what I want it to be. And then from there, I'll probably wrap up, right? Because the goal of this is to just be like, hey, I'm going to be working on my thing. If you have homework you need to do, if you have work you need to do, you have an article you need to write, emails you need to respond to, you can have a productive space. However, if you want to contribute to the TTRPG design, by all means, hit me up. So let me grab this second chat so I can get the questions. So, hello, Ducky and Pink and Gato and Clam and Stevie and Maddie and B and Oz Clark and some dude and Real Robot and EJ and No Longer a Dude. And I think that's everyone who's saying, oh, and hi, Trey. Been a bit, you're at your brother's house. You should be able to get Wi-Fi back Tuesday. Well, that's a shame because next week I'm going to be without my computer. I'm visiting some family, which I know it feels like once a month, every month. I'm like, oh, I'm off visiting family. Sorry. Like, that's what happens when you move across the country from all of your family, is that now they want to see you because they can't see you no more. So like, I was like near enough to my mother that she could just be like, oh, let me like grab dinner with you. And I'm like, okay, sure. But now it has to be like an adventure. So now I'm spending time with extended family a bunch. Am I going to use hex maps? No. Why? Because maps haven't been invented yet. And I like that as a cop-out answer. The reason I think it's really funny is, one, because obviously saying like, oh, maps haven't been invented yet is such like a stupid thing to say. but also it adds to the fact that this is not a world that you're meant to master. This is a world that you're meant to survive. This is a lethal game. This is a game where you don't just play a creature, you also play a species. You play an entire species. Who here has not heard me talk about this system before? Because like on my other document, which I was just going to use this document, but it is currently at 118 pages. We have rules for character creation, or creature creation, species creation, how to actually play the game, all of the different ancestors that you draw from and that you can mix and match in order to make your species. I have a series of biomes that you can use in your game, and I want to make more. And I also have a little bit of lore and a couple example adventure hooks. Like, as a system, this is going crazy. This is like a full-on system. This is one where, like, I would love to just release this for free. I literally don't think I can justify that with all of the effort I've put into it. Like with the distortions doc, which I'm also very proud of. And I put art. Like, it's not good art, but it's art. It's no synth-op. Like, this is a system where, like, I tried, like, designing it. I tried giving it, like, flair. I tried making it more, like, stylized. And I used as like, royalty-free stuff as I could while still adding in, like, little bits of lore and, like, all of that stuff. So I tried... That's why Distortions didn't come out yesterday. I was in the city yesterday, so I was busy all the afternoon. And so I wasn't able to release it. But like, this is something where Distortions, well, yeah, like, oh yeah, I could charge for it. It's like, I came up with this on stream. I don't even consider the Distortions to be fully my idea. The Distortions are like half chat, and I want to respect that. So I don't want to like gatekeep that from you, even though like I put in a bunch of effort to it. I put in more effort to Synthop. I made Synthop for free because it's the playtest material. I'm going to release the Distortions as playtest material. I want to show you probably... So I actually really like this. I like the edit page a lot because I put a paperclip connected to a ball and chain that goes into a book, that goes into vines, that goes into a paintbrush, which I just think is so edit, particularly given that it lines up with like the world, my canvas, and like perfect prose never plagiarized. This looks super good. I think it could have more. I think it could have more spice to it. And also, because Google Docs is silly, I can't import other fonts. I don't have Word, so I can't import fonts to Word. I don't have the Adobe suite, so I can't edit PDFs. So I have the proper fonts in order to make like this, like it's like Acumen Pro. I can't use it. This might be probably my favorite page that I did. Like it's hard to see because this is like projected onto a cave wall, but like just the hands and the eyes all overlapping with each other with the like the little reminder of like what Jaunt users are. Obviously, I added in some lore. I added in some lore for my own setting. I added in some teasers for what is important to my Kane game. So yeah. That looks so sick. Thank you. Are you competing with insects or trilobites, sir? Could I download the doc and edit it in LibreOffice? I don't know what LibreOffice is. So I probably could. I'm unfamiliar. So yeah, I am like, honestly, I went, if you were watching the, like literally on the stream Wednesday, we started that stream with this doc being Comic Sans all the way through as a joke. And now we're at the point where like, look at like the maze, like, look at the background for for Gate, and it's just like it's a giant, like it's so simple. And I went out of my way to make sure it's all royalty free. I went out of my way to make sure that I'm not going to get in trouble for using it. I didn't use any of it. I did use one piece of official Kane art, and that is in the cover. I did use the symbol of holding the hand, of holding the rock. So like, I am a hack. I am washed up. Like your goat is washed. However, I think that is forgivable. I'd like to think. That homebrew looks so good. I can eat it. Okay. So like, I'm not gonna sit here and hype up my own homebrew. I'm not gonna sit here and say like how amazing it is. That's your job. Your job is to take this, play test it, because really the distortions, one session, right? The distortions, if you don't know, this is Kane homebrew that adds a little mini boss that you can fight on an otherwise existing hunt. So the Kane distortions exist here in this weird space where they are not a full sin, but they're more powerful and impactful than a drifter. So I added in something that you would not know if you were just on stream, because I did this like last night. I added in generics. Someone brought up, hey, do you want to add in like generic domains? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then I did, because it was a good idea. So I'll read through the generic domains. Spare not the still weeping young. The distortion grows stronger as it causes harm to those around it. Whenever the distortion kills a human or inflicts an injury on an XO, it recovers 1 slash of its execution talisman. It cannot gain more than cat slashes per scene. When inflicting an injury on the distorted host, they increment their real me hook by 1 if it isn't already full. If it is, they gain 1 sin. Which the real me hook is, if that fills up, the distortion can take over their psyche and like steal their body. And then for every sin the XO has, the distorted host has, the distortion gets +1 slash. So it gets harder to kill the more sin the distorted host has. No keys, there goes my attention span. Oh, I'm so sorry. Beyond reality, regret, and reason. The distortion is only faintly held onto the distorted host, melding the line between the psychic sea and the real world. Drifters and traces are naturally drawn to the palace and will likely be found in its distorted palace. To the distortion and will likely be found in its distorted palace. They may be hostile to the distortion, but always prioritize attacking the XOs over it. As a complication, the distortion can fade into the psychic sea and turn nearly invisible. It is impossible to harm with mundane weapons and is completely ignored by traces and drifters for the duration. It is forced to return to reality on a risk roll of 4+ and may choose to return early. Unrelated, I like the ponytail. Thank you. So this is one where it's just like naturally traces and drifters just congregate around it, and it has an ability to just like peace out and just ignore traces and drifters, which I thought was very funny. Like, oh, great, it's fighting these like infested from the centipede. Oh no, it's peaced out. Now we have to deal with like a horde of centipede infested. That's not great. The wayward offspring of woe and weal. I really like that name. The distortion radiates the innermost feelings of the distorted host directly into other psyches. Whenever an XO spends a psyche burst in a short range, they may choose to gain both 1 sin and a wheel hook. When the hook fills out, they regain all of their psyche bursts. Whenever an XO deals a slash to the distortion's execution talisman, they take 1 sin. If it's the distorted host, they instead take 1d3 stress. Because, again, the distorted host, their sin increases the execution talisman of the distortion. So if they gain sin by dealing damage to it, then they're dealing no damage, right? So I had to change that. But I like the idea of you can willingly take on sin and then get a bunch of psyche bursts, because the idea of like you're feeding into the negative energy that's radiating. And then an inability to pity the wretched. When an XO enters the distorted palace for the first time or rolls a 1 on the risk die while within it, they increment a pity hook. When it fills, they take 1 affliction of the distortion's choice from the distorted host's future sin. So there's a couple mechanics in here that are related to the idea of you ask the host of the distortion, if you were to turn into a sin right now, what would you turn into? My character would turn into an ogre. My character would turn into an idol. My character would turn into a toad. So with this domain, if they say my character would turn into a lord, the distortion can inflict lord afflictions on characters because it's just 1 step away from being a lord. It's like the distortion is like the midpoint between Exorcist and Imago almost. Hello, Logout. You can hit up Tom Bloom or Svelte to ask if it's fine to use the rock hand. Very on theme with Rock Age TTRPG. It is on theme with Rock Age. Washed, I hope so. Okay, I shower every night. And like, personally, I think the whole like, oh, my Oshi is stinky, like I think that's cringe. I will like actually kick someone from stream if they start trying to make that a joke. I think that's cringe. However, independent of that, I have dodged the allegations, right? I shower nightly. And oh, B, you're gonna like this because you're the one that constantly asks me about how my leg thing progress is going. I was out in the city yesterday and I had to wait on a train. So naturally, what I did in the train, the platform's empty. I walk up. I want to MS Paint now. Why can't I MS Paint now? I walk up to a wall. Also, there should be flying text right now. I don't know why that's not working. I'm sorry. Like, I could add your little chat here, but I feel like that would be a little out of theme. Oh, frick, heck, darn it, drat. I forgot to add a fire cat. Oh, we also don't have music. How could I? I think you'll be fine without the noises of fire. Would you like fire ASMR in the background, or is music fine? Because like we have a little fire right here. I like fire. Air distract. I get distracted all the time. No, we lost the critical piece of technology. I know, the keys are gone. So I went up to a wall and I just started doing my leg stretches, which, fine. This is how you know you're special. This is how you know that you're my favorite. I will swap my stream. I will ruin the immersion in order to demonstrate MS Paint. So like, I'm waiting on the platform, right? Like the platform's like this. Like a wall platform, like the benches here, and like I'm just standing here as like the trains go right. I'm just like standing there, just like putting my feet against the wall because I've been doing this thing where I'm trying to do like a leg cabidon, where I'm just doing like that, right, and I'm just like. I'm just trying my best to like keep my legs straight as I do this, right? And so I'm in the middle of what is effectively a public area. Just hoping no one's around as they see me just like work on my flexibility mid-public. So like, I don't know. I'm the kind of person who I'm just like, well, I got time to kill, might as well do my stretches. Hello, Elza. I only like fire ASMR if it's heretics that are burning. I mean, we can burn some heretics. Prefer the music. Got it. Oh, fire? Okay, fire. I will add the fire. Can I just grab this? Okay, so, okay, say bye. Say bye to MS Paint. We love you, MS Paint. All right. We have returned to the world of fire. Oh, so speaking of like kissy noises, I had a short recently. We're not working on TTRPGs today. I'm so sorry. I had a. Let me know if fire's too loud. Let me know if you want me to keep it down. I had a short recently, the short from yesterday, where I go, Harrison, you petty, petty boy. Shame, Harrison. Shame. And I thought that was really funny. And then someone in the comments is just like, first off, they said, I didn't think I needed Harrison Armory to be shamed by Irish Arrow, which, why was I Irish? What was Irish about that? And also they said like, God, I wish that was me. Do people want me to point at you and go, you petty, petty boy? Burn, burn, watch the, when the seas boil, when the stars burn. See, that's how you gotta do it. You gotta get that gravel for Horace Looper call. You should be doing your homework or drawing probably. Well, that's what the stream is for. This stream, I don't know if you know, this stream is intended to be productivity. And I don't think it is productivity. I think at this point, this may just be the most high energy I've been in a minute. And I don't know what it is. I think something's in the water. However, all I can tell you is that I, as a cave creature in this present moment, am acting in accordance with my innermost desire. My id has taken over the stream. and my id simply desires not but to yap TTRPGs. Smiles. Okay, let's actually focus on this, shall we? So, man, when the 3D VTuber actually uses their 3D functionality, crazy. This is not productive at all. You've actively distracted me from the creative task I was doing before the stream. Okay. What if I mute myself, but I don't stop talking? So I can still get out all of the energy I have, but you can like pretend to be productive. So I'll just have like, yes, I'm being productive. Yes, productivity. Yes, in play. Blah, 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 blah. But like I mute myself. And so you have the work study buddy. You have the body double without any of the distractions. You prefer good girl? I mean, like, I'm not going to go around calling my audience good girls, but $20 is $20. Like, listen, I'm not here to like be your emotional support. I'm not here to like sublimate your desires for emotional connection. That's not my vibe. However, like ultimately, I don't really care. If you pay me, like at that point, that's just a service. Holy heck, I can turn around now. Okay, my secret, I've always been able to turn around. I just haven't. This entire time I've acted as if I'm a 2D model purely due to the fact that I didn't think about using it separately. And it was only by watching Cece, Cecilia Emmergreen from HoloLive. She did a stream last week where like she was in a cave, and I don't know why, but it inspired me. So now I'm in a cave. Except instead of being water aligned like hers was in like a natural grotto that she was drawing on the wall, I am working by the power of fire and industry, and I'm advancing to the next age, from the Stone Age into the Bronze Age. I was an Otomo. I wouldn't consider myself an Otomo. Like a lot of big VTubers I appreciate and I watch occasionally. I don't consider myself a fan though. Is it the Goon Cave? No! Am I in the Goon Cave? All of you are my goons. It looks like you have also a projector. Don't worry about that. No. This is time appropriate, period accurate, rock and stone projector technology. I just have someone behind the camera, which is also a Stone Age era camera, clicking rocks together in such a way that sparks create a flickering effect of light, which will then cast shadows on the wall. This is not a TTRPG. This is the shadow of a TTRPG in Plato's cave. You are not experiencing a real stream right now. This is a false reality that you've been shackled to the wall and refuse to believe that the outside world exists because you're a VTuber fan. His name Plato? Exactly. The next stage is the copper stage, but I guess we can just skip a lot of important advancements. So, Pink, you say that. I had my buddy Rory. I was talking with him, and he's like, actually, like, it was a complete fluke that we discovered bronze before iron, because iron is so much more common, and actually, copper would be a much more interesting material to focus on. I don't necessarily disagree. I consider just swapping it from bronze to copper, because ultimately, like, bronze in the system is a new thing. Bronze in the setting is something that is new. However, it's also not the real world. So the distributions of materials are completely different. For instance, there's an entire section. I need to reformat this. Beans. No. Sorry. I thought I deleted it on accident. So there's an entire biome called the copper cores. These are giant, like, trees, like redwoods. I was inspired by the redwoods that literally grow copper and zinc ore within them. So despite being called the copper mines, they basically create natural bronze deposits as alloys, because this is a fantasy world. This is a non a non-earth setting. I can get as crazy with it as I want. So if I think bronze tools are cool, I can just say bronze was in a position where it would occur naturally. So copper core, the plural, which I like the idea of adding like a parliament of owls for all of these. So like a deposit of copper cores. So like the tree, it's not a forest of them, it is a deposit of copper cores. Reaching 30 meters at its tallest point as a juvenile, some mature copper cores have exceeded twice that height. Without branches, but a stony, granite-like bark, florets, like broccoli, bloom from its top exclusively in warm colors. Roots are notably jagged, seemingly stabbing into the ground and tangling with one another. Prefers rocky, dry environs. Copper and zinc ore naturally form within trunks as rings, the ore type varying based on each year's temperature and humidity. So it's like, instead of tree rings, you can determine the age of a copper core by taking a core sample of it and seeing like, okay, so like copper, 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 zinc, zinc, copper, copper, zinc, copper, zinc, copper, zinc, 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 copper, copper. Whoa, giant thing of zinc. This was a massive like stress year for this copper core. And like, I think that's cool. I think that's cool. Orichalcum. Slightly unrelated, but this sort of exists in nature with bog iron. Pog. I saw you select, then delete a word, so I wanted to say control delete. No! So, uses. How do this different species use the copper cores? So the bark is stripped into planks for a stone-like reinforced construction material. Like a geode, trunks can be broken open to reveal ore growing up its height as tree rings. And then the florets retain their color long after plucked, used as evergreen livery among the wealthy. So I like the idea of every piece of fauna and flora, I try to, one, mix plant and animal traits, and I also try to add in something inanimate. Because this is a world where magic solves everything. This is a world where there's chaos, order is a nascent force, and magic is fading. So why can't something be made of stone and grow within it or as tree rings and have like tree-like growth and roots, and it's still alive, but it's like an earth-aligned tree. But the superstitions about the copper cores, they never stop growing, and eventually may develop more than copper. Exposed roots indicate a copper core is ripe and ready to be felled. The few lone copper cores found outside deposits are haunted by angry, grieving spirits. So these are things that aren't necessarily true, but these are things that at least a sizable population believes. So does a copper core with exposed roots literally mean it is ripe and ready to be felled? No. But do those who harvest the copper cores go around and look for exposed roots to be like, this one's good to fall? What's going to happen to the copper core when the magic of the world ends? That's a very good question. I could keep going into like the biomes and whatever, but that's not what I mean. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for the biomes. I am here for... I should show you how to play first. You should probably know how to play this system. I've talked about this before. Hi, what's the haps? Hey, Caleb. We are being productive. We are not being distracted. And I am turning away from you, so I can't be distracted by you. I'm focused on the thing in front of me because I have no object permanence. Don't say anything behind my back. Okay. In this system, we have not been distracted for 30 minutes. Maddie, mods, ban them. Maddie, I need you to ban yourself. I don't even think you are a mod here. I don't think you're a mod on YouTube. Look at us when we talk to you. Focus on. Okay, you can't say, oh, hey, squirrel, because as you've noticed by the fact that I've immediately gone off track, I will see a squirrel in real life, or a pigeon, or like a hand-sized like rodent or bird or a chicken or a goose or something, and I will start following it. Like, I would be so cooked if will-o-wisps were real, because I would see the floating glowing thing and immediately get distracted and want to touch it. Like, I have had to be stopped by other people around me when I see a pigeon, as I will just start following the pigeon because I want to pick it up. And the pigeon, because if you don't know, at least in the US, pigeons famously do not care about people. So they are rats of the sky. They will just walk away from you. So if you follow them, they're just walking away from you. They don't fly. And then if you start speeding up, they just start running faster. So then I start chasing this pigeon until eventually, like, I get too close and it flies away. Wait, real, I go on high alert whenever I see a critter. It's my instincts. I just want to pick it up. I don't even know what I would do once I catch it. It's just, it's my instincts. In Ireland, you can just grab a pigeon, apparently. Arrow Puppy Court. My roommate has said I'm like a golden retriever. My roommate has said multiple things. My roommate has said I'm both golden retriever as well as black cat. And they have decided that that means I'm a black lab. My roommate has ascribed me the trait of being a black lab because I have both golden retriever energy and black cat energy, just at two very different times. Right? Seagulls are the rats of the ocean. Clearly. Seagulls are the rats of, like, are water-aligned rats. Pigeons are air-aligned rats. Rats are earth-aligned rats. And now we need a fire-aligned rat in order to complete the avatar cycle. Black cats are good luck. Black cats are bad luck. However, I don't care about that. I love black cats. My roommate, not same roommate, one of my other roommates, has a black cat. And she is so sweet. She's so dumb. She's so cute. I talked to her on stream a couple times because she'll be in my room while I'm streaming. And then I'll be like, hey, sweetness, what's going on with you? And like, everyone will be like, Arrow talking to us? And I'm like, no, I'm talking to a cat. Do seagulls have flippers? Yes? Question mark? Water-aligned rats have to be fish. Okay, fish aren't real. Fish don't exist. Fish is made up by Big Rat in order to convince you that seagulls are not rats of the sea. There is no such thing as a fish taxonomically. There is only a fish colloquially. I am anti-fish. If bees are fish, you are fish. We are fish. I am fish. Fish is fish, not food. And it is also friend. Yay! Am I on something? I think that the cave fumes are getting to me. Like, genuinely. I think that I don't have enough, like, ventilation in here, and I'm starting to inhale something like the Oracle of Delphi. Did you know that it's reasoned that the reason the Oracle of Delphi was assumed to have prophetic powers is because in the caves of Delphi, there was actually, like, gas leaks, and you would basically get high by hanging out in there. And so if you have a priestess who just spends all of her time in there, it would make sense that she just starts tripping balls, and then suddenly you have a prophecy on your hand. Bees are fish only due to so bees are fish in California because there's a loophole in the conservation policies, and bees basically need to be protected, and there was anti-fishing laws, and then based on the wording, bees were able to be applicable to the definition of fish. Which also, did you know, honey is considered a raw animal product? So it's a meat by the FDA. It is a raw animal product produced by, or it's a raw product, it's a raw, unpasteurized product produced by animals. There's something where it's like, honey is considered raw meat by the FDA, I believe. Wasn't that a Doctor Who episode? I don't know what's in a Doctor Who episode. I haven't watched Doctor Who in like 10 years. Fun fact, Doctor Who, the first hyperfixation I can think of. Like, I hyperfixated on Doctor Who, like, back when the 10th Doctor was running around. Because I watched the 9th Doctor, I watched the 10th Doctor, I watched most of the 11th Doctor, and then I just kind of faded. But, like, I didn't realize at the time that it was a hyperfixation. But I was watching, like, all of Doctor Who by myself. When, like, I was originally watching it with some of my family, and then they weren't wanting to watch it. They were, like, wanting to do other stuff. So I'm like, I'm just gonna watch it by myself, okay? They're like, fine. And then, like, I was super into it. I never got into Super Hulock. I never got into Super Hulock. I watched Sherlock. I never watched Supernatural, but I did hyperfixate on Doctor Who for a while. And that was the first one where, like, for months at a time, that was like the defining interest that I had. And then it faded, and then I just stopped caring about it. Which, like, I didn't know at the time, but looking back, I'm like, that was very clearly a hyperfixation. Capybara equals fish. Ooh. The 10th Doctor is still the Doctor count. Aren't we on, like, the 13th Doctor, who's, like, a woman, and then, like, everyone is super sexist about that? I haven't kept up with it. I wanted to watch Day of the Doctor, whereas the 9th, 10th, and 11th all coming together or something. I just didn't. Or maybe it was the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I stopped watching by that point. We should go back to exploring the places. Yes, we should. Thank you. See, like, this is why I need a chat. It's not... Listen, this productivity stream is not for you. It's for me. You should know this by now. Can you hear me when I lean off to the side? Because I feel like that's counterproductive. If I turn my head to the side in order to be more clear and, like, look at you, and then it turns out that I'm actually making it more difficult to hear. Weekend humans are featherless bipeds. Yeah. Awesome. So, in play. Xeneolithic, the name of the system, which... Tell me your thoughts on the system name. Xeneolithic. Xenos, alien. Xenio. And then Neolithic, because that is the time period that is set in. We both need to keep each other on topic. Exactly. Jingle, jingle, jingle. Working something you need to do. Jingle, jingle. What's the Markiplier clip where it's just like, back in the day, jingle, 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 jingle. Back in the day, you used to jingle, 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 jingle. It's so silly. So, Xeneolithic follows most of the conventions of typical TTRPG play. The GM will describe a scene, the players respond how they act, and then dice are rolled to resolve ambiguous circumstances. This is a primarily narrative system that revolves around creatures making checks to attempt tasks, with longer tasks requiring multiple successes to resolve. However, Xeneolithic has no combat system. Fights or altercations are resolved in the same manner as cooperative tasks, imposing the same consequences. Enemy creatures act as a result of the consequences of the player creature's actions, with some exceptions. So, initiative. Xeneolithic has no initiative system. That's because initiative hasn't been invented yet. Order of play is determined by the players in accordance with whatever makes the most sense at the time. This means that the same creature might act multiple times in a row. So long as no player feels like they're unable to play the game, this is fine. If players ever have a disagreement they can't resolve via communication, they're both locked out of the decision-making process, and it's on the other players to determine what to do. Or they just roll for it, play rock, paper, scissors, or whatever tie-breaking method works. And then this is basically just a designer's note of like, hey, if someone's being a jerk, that's not a system problem, that is a group problem. Your friends should want their friends to have fun. Each session. At the beginning of every session, the players collectively, what if everyone disagrees, then like, clearly your group needs something to talk about. But, like, if you have a decision where, like, I want to go stab that guy, I want to go talk to that guy and talk down, I want to sneak by them and ignore them, and no one is willing to budge, that is not an issue of, oh, you just need to assign randomly which one of them gets their way. You need to, like, have an out-of-game conversation to be like, hey, why are we so against each other's ideas that we're not willing to work together? It's supposed to be cooperative, no? Each session, so every session, the players collectively agree on a mission. It can be as large or small scale as they want, but ideally should be something accomplished by the end of the session. It might be strictly out of game or an actual literal mission assigned in game. If you might realize, this inspired the mission system for Synthop. At the end of a session, every player will have a chance to explain how their creature contributed towards accomplishing that session's mission. If they did, they earn a 1 XP. It's up to the GM to award this, which they'll likely be generous for. So the idea is our mission is to deliver the wheelbarrow full of crops to the next town over. And if everyone manages to like help out on the way there and like contributes to meaningfully accomplishing the mission, yeah, everyone gets 1 XP. Nice. Like it's not something that's intended to be difficult, right? If a mission is completed or otherwise rendered unable to be accomplished during a session, the players can't agree on a new one for the remainder. A player can only gain 1 XP from 1 mission per session. So you can't just like do a bunch of super easy missions. Maneuver. Each player will also assign a personal maneuver their creature hopes to accomplish at the end of the session. All players should be aware of each other's maneuvers, even if their creatures aren't. And then if you do this, or if your maneuver is accomplished regardless if you're the one that did it, gain 1 XP. Right? The idea being is that the maneuver, it's like desire versus ambition, almost, from Vampire the Masquerade, the storyteller system. Maneuver is, I want to kill that one particular bandit that I know is going to be on this road. Whereas the mission is going to be, let's get the grain to the other town. So if we kill the bandit on the way to the town, you get 2 XP. Spore TTRPG, exactly, you get it. Remember, you win TTRPGs by making your GM sigh more than the other players do. Bonus points if they cry. No, my rules lawyer brain cannot comprehend the concept of just figure it out yourself type of rules light system. So like, this is a pretty rules light system. I'd say it's, you tell me if it's rules light. I'm going to keep going. Each creature's faction, which is part of your species that you make, has a certain direction their species is advancing, represented by their momentum. All players and creatures should be aware of each other's factions and momentums. So as a player character, like as a player, Stevie should be aware of what Maddie's momentum is, and also aware of what Maddie's maneuver is. But Stevie's creature always knows what Maddie's momentum is, what their faction goal is, but may or may not know Maddie's maneuver. Right? It's up to Maddie to decide, my creature would reveal my maneuver is, I want to go kill that bandit. Right? So attempting attack, I would say it's pretty rules light, and that's kind of why I don't want to have a hex map. So attempting a task. This is like the core of the system. This is the main mechanic of the game. Whenever you attempt a task, first consider if it would be physically possible for your species to accomplish. Ether organs, which are organs that allow you to just kind of do stuff for free because magic is in the world, which you will lose your ether organs over time. And traits and items aside, some tasks are simply not feasible. For instance, I want to lift up this mountain. That's not possible. Sorry, dog. So, when attempting a task, you will suggest how difficult it is, easy, possible, or improbable. Often, this difficulty will be modified by your traits, items, and the circumstances surrounding you, such as your species agenda. Consider what traits you have and how they could be used. Should be faction, I think. Consider what traits you have and how they could be used. Pheromones and a tongue both allow for communication, assuming the recipient has a nose or ears. Therefore, communicating information would be easy. Trying to convince, intimidate, or deceive the recipient might be possible or even improbable based on your relationship and their temperament. It's up to the GM what the task difficulty ends up being, but the opening suggestion is always the players to make. So it's the idea of, I want to make a easy check in order to convince this guy to let me through. The GM says, I don't think it's going to be easy, I think it's going to be possible. And the player says, okay. However, if you think, you know what, like, I know it's going to be improbable, but I want to make this check anyway, the GM might go, okay, sure, it's improbable. It's just to like take one load. Like ideally, it streamlines the process just a little bit, like 5% more efficiency. So it's less stressful for the GM having to constantly be like, well, with your species and all the traits you have, I feel like normally this would be improbable, but you can make it possible. Like it's up to the player to decide that. Then the GM will inform you of how many successes will be required to accomplish the task. The amount of successes is unrelated to the difficulty, where an improbable task might require 1 success, while an easy task might require a 6-node tree. Trees are just this system's version of clocks, talismans. It is a tree, like an evolutionary tree, like a phylogeny tree, a genetic ancestor tree, purely aesthetically. Otherwise, it is identical to like a talisman from Kane, or a clock from most other systems. Making a check. After determining difficulty, roll 1d12. Your GM may allow you to roll 2d6 instead, so long as the task falls under the responsibilities of your title. Your title is something your creature has that's like your job. You're a warrior, you're a scholar, you're a leader, whatever that is, whatever your role in whatever your title is in your species. So long as it's reasonable, your creature has experience dealing with the task according to their title, your GM will likely allow it. It is very broad. It is like, I'm a warrior, I'm probably going to be able to not just fight people, also intimidate people, and also repair weapons, right? But for improbable tasks, you can only roll 2d6 if your check is your title's defining task. The defining task is fighting creatures, repairing weapons, building structures. Like if you are a warrior, your defining task might be fighting other creatures. So on a possible check, you can roll 2d6 for repairing weapons, or for intimidating someone, or for checking out how dangerous the circumstance is. But for improbable tasks, you only get the 2d6 if your species, or if your title, their defining task is what you're trying to do. It's like fighting something. So easy task. Hello, why are you turned away from this? Because I'm looking at what I'm talking to you about. I thought that was obvious. Yixtris, come on. You're better than this. Come on. Our faction goal is to be as secret as possible about our maneuvers. It's going poorly as we have no concept of lie. Yeah, lying hasn't been invented yet. It's such a cop-out, but I love it so much. It's so funny. No, mine is I want to go pick berries and hang out. Just gonna say, appreciate the 1 XP. I hate it when the system gives you some kind of points, but they're just something multiplied by 5 or 10 for no reason. Yeah, in this system, you get 1 XP for surviving, 1 XP for doing the mission, for the maneuver. Yeah, let me grab it. Let me just show you it real quick, because you tell me how you feel about this, right? You tell me how you feel about this advancement system. So let's delete the copper cores. So, experience. At the end of every session, each player checks the following. Did you survive? Did you contribute meaningfully to the mission, to your momentum, to your maneuver? Then you get 1 XP per question answered to a maximum of 3. So even if you did all 4 of these, you only get 3. Which means, and like the goal of this is, I, as a player, want to maximize how much XP I get. However, that means I don't have flexibility in role-playing, because that means if I want to do an interesting roleplay decision that subverts my species' momentum, or my faction's momentum, then I would lose out on XP, so I'm less inclined to do that. But with this, it's very Cain agenda coded. It was inspired by Cain agendas. Yeah, absolutely. But with this, because it's maximum of 3, if you're doing like 3/4 of these, which did you survive? Not a guarantee. Because remember, XP, that's tied to your species, not to your creature. You can like have your creature be the perfect exemplar of all of these and die and still get full XP. That's the thing. So each player can then, on top of this 3 XP, bring up one cool thing a different player did during the session. This might be a tense role-playing section, a well-thought-out plan, or even just a really funny joke. The player that acknowledges their fellow player's cool thing gains an additional 1 XP. Every player can do this once per other player, but can never gain more than 5 XP per session. So, depending on your group size, you can never go above 5, but even if you as a player, even if you have a creature, survive and you don't do any of these 3, you can still theoretically get max XP if you are really attentive to how awesome your fellow players were. Why did I do this? Because this incentivizes you that if Jonathan is doing something in the game, Yixtris has a mechanical incentive to pay attention. Does XP carry over player characters in your species? XP is for your species, not your creature. XP is not spent on your creature, it is spent on your entire species. So, whenever the Rift Closure tree completes, which is a constant repeating tree or talisman or clock, that is when everyone like levels up. Players can spend their XP to represent the change it has on their species. As magic fades from the world, as the rift that gives out ether stutters and closes and sputters, you can choose different stuff for your species. All of these apply to your entire species. And the most expensive one is 5. However, some of these with a little asterisk increase by 1 every time you take it. So for instance, 'Tis But to Scratch. Gain an additional injury box, but the cost of it increases by 1 every time you select it. Your health increases for 3 XP, but then it becomes 4, then it becomes 5, then it becomes 6, right? I had a lot of fun naming these. These are all references. So like Evolving Wilds, Magic the Gathering, Locked In, you're locked in. Missing Link, literally the missing link. But you can also, for your creature, choose a story that represents what your creature's gotten up to. XP Carries between creatures is for your entire species. This affects every member of your species. Stories are specific to your creature. So a story might be, never tell me the odds. Succeeded at least 3 tasks that didn't align with your title since the last time the Rift Closure tree completed. So with your title, you write down 2 more defining tasks. So as a warrior, I had it as like fighting other creatures, but now I make it fighting other creatures, intimidating creatures, and repairing weapons. Now, that means on improbable tasks, I have 3 options. I have 3 different tasks I can do where I still roll 2d6, which you still don't know why 2d6 is valuable. So I'll get back to that. But you can only ever roll 2d6 when attempting your defining tasks, even for possible checks. You broaden your scope, but then also narrow how applicable it is. All of the stories have a good thing and a bad thing because they represent your creature developing over time and getting more narrow in focus. You don't have to take a story. Stories are optional. You could go without any stories, but it's like how I got these scars. Had a trait remain wounded for at least 2 nights. When that trait has an injuries, it is considered wounded is still usable. So if you have wings and they get an injury, you can't use your wings. But with this, if your wings were wounded for multiple nights, you can have it be like they scarred over. And now your wings are always wounded because they can never remove a wound from resting, but they're never injured. So it is like your max HP is slightly reduced, but you always have access to your wings because you've just learned to live with your injury. So that's advancement, right? That's what you get from XP. Like you get like between 3 and 5 XP normally, and your XP is going to be spent on things that cost between like 1 and 5. But rolling. Yo, I forgot there's a stream today. Gonna listen while I drive home. Also, howdy. Hope your day and deving is going well. Thank you. Dead name jump scare. I'm sorry. That's just what your YouTube name is. Gotta go. See you later. Enjoy, Trey. I thought 2d6 was good because 2d6 is better than 1d12. So, what it is that it's, if a task is easy, you just don't roll. Tasks that have a foregone conclusion are easy, as well as those whose risks are so minor they wouldn't reasonably invoke meaningful consequences. Crafting a shield over an entire night doesn't need a check, whereas assembling one during a fight might. If an easy task has a tree, using items might allow you to mark multiple nodes on it. So if a task requires 3 successes but it's easy, you don't roll, you just automatically get 1 success. But then your items and other gear that might make it even easier might give you more successes. Possible tasks is if it's something your creature can possibly accomplish. On a when you make a check, you roll 1d12 or 2d6 if it's under your title. On a 7+, it is a success without direct complications. On a 6 or lower, you still succeed, but there's some major issue with your success. This is called making a payment of blood, sweat, or tears. See below. After your GM informs you of the payment consequences, you can give up your success to avoid choosing consequences. So on you always succeed possible checks, but on a 6 or lower, you have to make a payment of some kind. So this means possible checks, you're always going to get at least 1 success on them. They just might have downsides. And that's why 2d6 is so valuable, because 7 is the breakpoint. So 7 being the average of 2d6 makes it so that is like the exact breakpoint where you're much more likely to get a 7+. And then for improbable checks, rolling a 7+ is basically like a 6 or minus on a possible task. You succeed, but it still requires a payment. And then rolling a 6 or lower means you fail and take a payment. So this is a very fail-forward system. This is a system where literally the only way you aren't succeeding is if it's improbable to start and you roll poorly. Every other time you make some success. Don't worry, it's chill. I just forget that it's technically my name. It's literally never been my actual name. Nobody's ever called me that. I feel you. Yeah. I know people who like their legal name has never been their name, right? Like not even just like a trans thing, like literally just they always had a nickname growing up, and they maybe got a new one, or maybe it stuck with them into adulthood. I'm someone who my like legal first name I have not been like called consistently in years. Not even as like a transitioning thing. Not even because I'm non-binary. Literally just because like I like in high school just started being called a nickname, and it just stuck. And now that's what most people in my life call me. Where's the money, Lebowski? So, payments. What is making a payment? When you have to make a payment, your GM will choose two. Then they'll inform you one is light and the other is severe. You must choose the light or severe consequence offered to you, but you can give up your success in order to avoid making a payment. So blood. If it, like, you either take some wounds or some injuries, you take damage, right? That this can kill you. This can destroy your creature. This can like ruin your day. Sweat. Mark off nodes on trees. This is a very tree-oriented game. This is a game with a lot of talismans, a lot of clocks. This is a game where time is kind of the essence. And so if you're fighting something, blood might be that you try fighting it and it stabs you while you stab it. Sweat might be it keeps dodging, and you do eventually manage to damage it, but it took way longer than you expected. And tears is either reduce your item's durability or some narrative event happens, right? So I'm fighting you and I roll like a 6 on my possible check to deal damage to you. And the GM says, okay, you have a light sweat payment or a severe tears payment. So this would be either the GM will mark off 1 to 3 nodes across active trees, or one of my item's durabilities will reduce by 2 to 3 / a major narrative event may happen. So this might be that if I choose the severe tears option, I strike at you with my club and I still deal damage because it is like a 6 or minus on a possible roll. My club shatters across you and just breaks. Or with sweat, maybe I'm just beating on you and like you're defending and it's really hard to deal damage to you, and eventually I finally deal damage to you, but it took me like multiple more minutes than I expected. And so the reinforcements you were waiting on arrived, right? That's the kind of thing that this is. Your real name isn't Aerokiss? I didn't say it wasn't. I've been called by my middle name since an associate of mine has the same name. Yep. I saw a Tumblr post about someone who had a friend they called Steve for years. Steve was that friend's dog. The friend's actual name was something else. They were just too polite to correct anyone. That is so sad. Your weapon breaks or Johnny dies. Exactly. And then you can like assist people with rolls. What was I doing? Oh, exploration, Pog. So, we're finally here. We're finally back on the actual intent of this stream. It's only been an hour. Arrow writes kiss exactly. So, oh man, I just realized. I know because I'm arrow writes, my Oshi marks, I made them the bow and arrow and a pen. I could have gone for arrow kiss. I could have gone bow and arrow and like lips, which I don't think fits my branding. I think the bow and arrow and the pen fit better. But I literally just realized I could have done that. Not even a missed opportunity, more so just a wowza. So, Xenolithic is a game of exploration and discovery. Writing hasn't been invented yet. Cartography is impressionist at best. Animal trails are the closest thing to a road that's been developed. As such, players will often get vague directions of where they're intended to go. They may get lost. This is intentional, given the nature of the ever-present rift closure tree looming above them. So this section, the exploration section, is like half done. I want to work on this more. Travel. When traveling for longer than a day, creatures band together to form a troop and take on roles to facilitate travel. Each day-night cycle will have time slots where the troop can work towards advancing towards their goal. Primarily, certain creatures will make a travel task to advance the biome tree of whatever environment the troop is passing through. If you're in the plains versus the hills versus the mountains, you have to make, those are different trees you need to make progress through, right? The way travel in this game is handled is not by a hex map, not by you travel like 24 miles per hex or per day, which is equal to 1 hex. It is you make checks in time slots. It's much more like one layer remove, because you actually don't know how physically far it is. It's just, you know, it takes like 3 time slots to get from there to there, assuming you roll well. So every day has 1 time slot and every night has 3, because in this world, nights are 3 times the length of days. This makes up a cycle. At the start of a time slot, the leader decides if that slot will be active or passive. Active time slots involve some form of activity, most commonly traveling, but may also involve fighting or crafting. A creature doing something for a specific purpose is often what makes it active. Most creatures will spend 3/4 of a cycle time slots active. Passive slots involve relaxation, most commonly sleeping, but may involve playing a game or instrument. A creature winding down and not focusing on advancement of goals is often what makes it resting. And then they must rest at least once per cycle or else they'll suffer injuries. And at the beginning of every cycle, so every day, one player rolls 2d6. If they roll 6 to 8, it's uneventful. If they roll 5 or lower, it's an obstacle regarding the weather. If they roll 9 or higher, there's an obstacle regarding creatures and wildlife that obstructs the truth. How cosmologically night is 3 times the length of a day? Magic. Like, listen, I'm gonna keep saying it, but like, proper day-night cycles have not been invented yet. Like, this is a world where magic is fading and chaos is being supplanted by order. This is, what if there was sentience in the bridge between the primordial soup and civilization? This is a weird liminal space where nothing makes sense and it's not supposed to make sense. So the night cycle will stabilize once the rift closes. It's magic. I don't gotta explain shiz. I mean, basically, Pink, like, I am one for, I like having explanations for that sort of thing. This is not the setting for that. This is a setting where you can be a blob that has eyeballs, hands, poisonous, like venomous quills, egg sacs, fur, and like teeth. But you don't have a mouth, you don't have a stomach, you don't have lungs. Like, how do you survive? I don't know, magic. Probably magic. Who knows? Wait, you have a stomach, but you don't actually have like an esophagus. Yeah, magic. I don't care. Magic. Like this is a very shrug shoulders, it just works setting, right? How can something have teeth and not a mouth? No, like, babe, those are exactly the sort of questions you should not be asking for this setting. This is exactly the sort of setting where it's just like, you might have a creature that has teeth but no mouth. You might have a creature that has a tongue but no throat. You might have a creature that has hands but no arms, fingers but no hands. You might have a creature that has hooves at the ends of fingertips. Like, this is a weird setting. The point is absurdism. The point is surrealism. The point is liminality. I have teeth but no mouth, yet I must scream. So some kind of Neolithic world filled with magic and chaos, and the groups are practically entering very early tribal. No, that's exactly right, Lag. Like, this setting is all of the species are early tribal stage. Like, if we're talking spore, you are at the point where like your species just went from the creature stage to the tribal stage. There are other species already in the tribal stage, and there are other species that are in the creature stage that are about to hit the tribal stage that haven't gotten there yet. Broadly speaking, this is an amorphous civilization goop. This is the primordial soup of sentience. This is the time before time, right? The land before time, you might say. So real life after humans appear, but before, right? So what I will say, this is the earliest I have ever gone and probably ever will go into my setting. I think this is the origin of my setting. I think this is before orcs and elves and humans and dwarves and goblins and all of these creatures. I think these are like the ancestors to those like ancestries. I think this is a world where magic will indelibly leave a mark on the world. All of the creatures will evolve into something halfway recognizable canonically. And then from there, you will have like hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years until you hit the point where we have proper civilization. And obviously, the timeline is being sped up. The timeline is like all over the place because, again, magic is fading and evolution is trying to catch up. This is a great setting for a kind of dark continent, new world adventuring story. You love those types of journey to the center of the earth, 10,000 leagues into the sea. So this doesn't really have the tech level for that, but I think it'd be really interesting if you have like, you're basically like Neolithic Vikings. You sailed across what is effectively like the Atlantic Ocean and found what is effectively America in the Stone Age. No big bold text about one civ being objectively superior to the others. I can't believe Arrow Rights has gone woke. Okay. I do have text in, like, canonically, one of these species has a, like, what would it be called? What's it called when, like, a nation or a civilization has, like, a, we were the best and we need to reclaim back what it was, like, a fantasy of past reality? Basically, the Kling, they hold on to the belief that they once ruled the world. They ruled from a city that was wider than any plane. Oh, well, yes, Alza, that is correct. I just don't think I can say that word on YouTube. Nostalgia and pride are nice words for it. Alza's on the right track. Lost cause, thank you. Lost cause. They ruled from a city that was wider than any plain, taller than any mountain, and with more Kling inhabiting it than trees in any forest. They built it with their own spinnerets and the very bark off their backs, recording their ethics and exploits as the 9 virtues. Other species were amazed by the Kling's ingenuity and magnanimity, swearing fealty to their rightful masters. In that hierarchy, the Kling ruled justly, yet the webbing frayed, ungrateful servants tore bark asunder, trampling the empire beneath it. It was the Kling's adhering to the virtues that let the empire fall. It's unclear the truth of the Kling Empire, but what matters is that its legacy lingers. Pundits called autarchs lead ideological factions called cabals, each claiming to uphold the virtues of the old empire to further their own ends. Larger cabals emulate the social hierarchy and roles of the fallen empire, though most are so fragmented they rely entirely on their autarch. Even still, the Kling respect and tolerate their own, seeing themselves as a Kling before a member of their specific cabal. While they might disagree ideologically, most autarchs will honor their promises to one another and come to each other's aid, if only to appease their own cabal. But some Kling reject the notion of their history being a tragic fall from grace, while fewer still deny the existence of the empire entirely. These apostates band together as true adherents to the 9 virtues. Whether they feel guilt for their actions of the empire or simply doubt its historicity, what makes an apostate is their desire to chart a new future for the Kling. Though reviled by the autarchs, other species find apostates significantly more agreeable than the cabals they left behind. Further, they are some of the only of their species willing to care for Kling Mu, Mu being mutations. Virtues? Cain reference? So, like, I do have a species in here who believe in this kind of like lost cause, like, we were the greatest and we can reclaim that in the future. But even like in game, even in setting, no one's really sure if it's true, and the Kling are the only ones that believe it. So what I really enjoyed is I liked making a bunch of species, and I liked making all of them with like a Stone Age twist of what is effectively other archetypes. For instance, one of them is like noble aristocracy, like court politics as a species. One of them is just like chill stoners that just like lays around all day. And then obviously these are more like militant. They're more bad. Is that the bite of 87, negative 87? Yes, you could say they're clinging. No, don't laugh at that. Don't laugh at that. That one. It's like the Lothverse illustrates Drow, but more spidery. I mean, kinda. See, the thing is, the Kling, the ones I just showed, these are one of the ancestor species. There are 12 ancestor species, and when you make your species, you will take 4 of the ancestor species and mix and match their traits and like their regions and like their cultural impacts on you to build your species. So for instance, if one of your ancestors is the cling, you have access to having bark, a stomach, a tongue, a heart, spines, eye stalks, spinnerets. So if you want to play like spider people, the cling are probably going to be one of your ancestors. You would want spinnerets for that. And then you might combine that with like the Thistretrex, who have like leaping legs. So you build a unique species off of the components of your ancestors. So like I tried to make them all distinct from one another. I tried to make all of them, if not likable, interesting. Because like the cling are not the best. Jumping Spooter, exactly. So back to travel, exploration. So every cycle, 1 player rolls 2d6, 6 to 8 is uneventful, 5 or low it's the weather, 9 or higher it is creatures or wildlife. The player who rolled decides the nature of the obstacle. At the beginning of any time slot for the rest of the cycle, the GM can decide that troop encounters the obstacle. So for instance, Lag rolls a 3 on the 2d6, it is the weather, and you decide it is a freezing blizzard that you encounter. And then the GM decides when in the cycle, like what time slot the blizzard hits. So you might have a fine travel day, but in the future, you see, oh, blizzard's in the horizon, it's gonna hit next time slot. So we need to like stop traveling and build shelter now. And then you build up shelter, a blizzard hits, you're stuck there for the night, it's time to roleplay, it's time to talk to one another, and then once the blizzard breaks, you can move out the next day. And maybe you roll another, like maybe Pink rolls the next day and rolls a 5. So then the blizzard stays and it's like a multi-day blizzard thing. That's the intent of this system, right? So like the same player cannot roll twice in a row. If a creature, so this is separate, sorry. This is just stuff I had on copy paste. So basic needs. When you're exploring, every creature needs to meet their basic needs each day. Energy consumption is eating or photosynthesizing, often handled by one of the ether organs. But even still, that just allows them to absorb ether, meaning they still have to actually find ether by hunting or like eating fruit. Every cycle, a creature must consume energy. If they can't, they take an injury. If they can only consume a partial amount of energy, the equivalent of a single meal, they instead take a wound. So if you're in an area where you have no food, you will take damage as you travel. If you're in an area where you have to ration your food between all of you, you will take less damage, but still take some damage. If you want to play Groot, you choose Cling. Guess it's been a blizzard for 8 months. Help. Oh my gosh. Temperature regulation is like thermoregulation or shelter. It's most often handled by one of your ether organs, but it's still overwhelmed by exposure to intense elements. So every time slot, not every cycle, every time slot, you must be protected from the elements. If you aren't, they take an injury. If they're only partially exposed, they instead take a wound. So for instance, if you're in like light rainfall, that's probably not going to be bad. Maybe if you have no coverage and you're in light rainfall, you might take a wound, but ultimately like that's not that bad. But if it's torrential rainfall, if it's acidic spore clouds, if it's a huge blizzard and you're just like walking out in the open, you're going to take an injury. So you have an incentive to like build a small shelter, like hide in a cave kind of deal. This is a system that you are not the master of the world, and you will probably have random obstacles that prevent your progress that you need to work around. Respiration is for breathing or airflow, and is most often handled by another ether organ. It allows a creature without a respiratory system to breathe, meaning they still need access to clean air. Every scene, not time slot, they must be able to respirate. If they can't, they die, because you're not breathing. If they can only partially respirate, they instead take a wound. And then this might be if you have like really stale cave air, or there's toxic fumes, or you're at a super high altitude. So if you're in the mountains and you like are just kind of climbing mountains to travel, you'll take a wound each scene because you're not prepped for like that high altitude. And that like, this is all just travel complications you have to deal with, which my goal is I don't want this to be complicated, but I do want this to be robust enough that it's like something you have to plan around. And then sleep, every cycle you need to spend at least 1 time slot sleeping. If you can't, take an injury. If you can only partially rest, for instance, you're like walking at a slow pace, you take a wound. And then like if stuff is disrupting your sleep, then that might be there. Then that might ruin your sleep or make it partial. So rolls. Leg day be hitting a bit hard after sick last week. Oh no. So rolls. When you're traveling, a collection of creatures moving together as a troop, and for the duration of the journey, they take on different roles. They may be official designations, but more often are informal acknowledgements of competency. At the beginning of every cycle, so every day-night cycle, every creature chooses a role. Any number of creatures can be any number of roles, and some roles may be absent from a troop. It's spelled troop wrong. The exception is that a troop must always have exactly one leader. So, the leader sets the troop's pace at the beginning of every time slot. When a biome's tree completes, the leader chooses which direction to continue moving, entering a new biome at the end of the time slot. So, you have a leader to make decisions. And every active time slot, they may make a check to further their progress. It's always easy if it's in their preferred region. Every success advances the current biome tree by 1. If you're in a really dense forest, that might be a biome tree of 3 or maybe 4. If you're in the mountains, again, that might be 3 or 4. If you're in the plains, that might be 1 or 2. Right? So it's the idea of different biomes that you travel through will have different requirements. Yeah, this is my creation. And we're just kind of talking about a Stone Age era species builder where magic is fading from the world. How long are the time slots that you can cross biomes over the course of one? So it's like all day is what it is. Like an 18-hour day kind of deal, right? So the idea being is that with time slots, these aren't like a couple hours. This is like all day. Now, obviously, you get into weird math of just like, wait, so if you're able to rest once per cycle, then you can travel like 36 hours without resting. And it's like, I don't know the exact math, but the idea being is that it's the majority of a day is one time slot. The night accounts for multiple day lengths. It is 3 days worth of time. So you can continue to travel through the night. I want to add something where I don't know if it's hard. I don't know if it's like risky. I don't know if you always take a wound like during the night. I don't know. But in addition to the one leader you have, you can be a navigator. Navigators also get to roll. So it's the idea of if you have a leader as well as multiple navigators, you can move really quickly. Scouts, when rolling for the cycle's obstacle, a scout may increase or decrease the die roll by 1 for every scout in the troop. So if you have 2 scouts, increase or decrease that 2d6 by 2. If in their species preferred region, they may choose the result instead. So if you have a scout and your region is like the plains, and you have a scout that is a native of the plains in the plains, you can just choose to encounter nothing because the scout will see, nope, that's storm up there. We need to avoid that. Let's go around it. And so like having a scout allows you to just avoid obstacles in some cases. Hunter, each active slot, so whenever you're traveling, the hunter may make a check to gather food. This check is always easy if it's in their preferred region. Every success acquires enough food or ether to feed a single creature for an entire slot, or partially feed 2 creatures for a slot, right? So it's they're actively hunting while you're traveling. Thank you, Pink. It's magic. I don't gotta explain nothing. To be fair, these creatures have evolved to live on a planet with very different circumstances, so them being awake to tank a 36-hour period is fine. That's fair. Are you designing? I am finally designing, yes. So, here are just some random notes I have. So, how do we feel about this? If you were to play this game with a group of like 2 to 4 other creatures, and you are like, hey, we need to get from location X to location Y, and we know we have to go through a couple biomes. Like we have to go through the Copperfeld, the copper cores to get there. Would you like, does this sound fun to you? Where it's like, we have to worry about like, can we get food, but it's just a roll? Can we make sure that we like have shelter in case there's a storm? World's softest magic system. No, I do want to add a magic system to this game, but I think that would be probably like, I would probably not add a magic system to this directly. I would probably add a magic system as a supplement. Or I could add, because like ether is magic, right? I have not added anything weird with Ether outside of like basically magic items. There are certain items that are more effective if they're just like infused with Ether. Sounds very fun. More board game than an RPG though, because this is for travel, right? So your RPG stuff is when you are talking to other creatures, you're making decisions, you're like deciding what goes on with your species. I want there to be more structure to travel so that you don't just hand wave it. Because when you don't add structure to a system, if folks don't care, they're just going to hand wave it. This is a setting, this is a system that is reliant on exploration, right? So you can still like, you still have RPG elements for like making gear and like talking to people and fighting and what all that stuff. But this just particular like subsystem is very board game by design. My question is this something that is more trouble than it's worth? Is it too complicated? Is it too noodly? Or is it too vague? I would have to actually play it to have a solid feeling. I've learned a lesson about writing systems based on sounding fun. Yeah, and that's why like I wanna probably what I'll do with this system is I will like I'm thinking like maybe on Patreon or maybe on Discord, I will release like a playtest version, which will just include like the essentials. I'll release like a starter kit. And then from the starter kit, I will be like, hey, give me playtest info. Let me know how this is. Let me do tweaks. And then I can do a full release on like itch. How does the biome tree look? Like, is it random? So the biome tree is a clock, is a talisman from Cain. The biome tree is literally just like, oh, it takes 3 successes to get through this biome. There are 3 nodes on this tree. You mark off a node, you're 1/3 of the way there. The biome is the actual setting that you get into. So like I was talking about the copper cores earlier. Probably the craziest that I made was the very first one I made. The craziest one that I made was probably the Phalangophel. Would you like to guess what the Phalangophel is? It is a plane, so it's like planes, that is covered in fingers growing from the ground and has an ecosystem built around them competing with something called mud fuzz, which is like a slimy mucus. And there's like big moles and there's like flying gliders that like comb through the area for like meerkat looking things. Like and there's like giant lily pads that like trap your feet. So like going through the grass roots, the Phalangophel might be like a 3 or a 2 biome tree. That sounds absolutely horrifying. Yeah, so imagine you're walking and then you encounter the grass roots. 6 to 10 centimeter long fingers. They dominate the Phalangophel by surface area, preferring lower elevations and locations with shade. They vary in color, form, and tension, but all react to stimulus with twitch reflexes and bleed when snapped or cut. Attempt to grab anything that doesn't move through them or over them quick enough. Grow 1 nail length per night until reaching their full height, often within 5 nights. Vulnerable to sunburn. Straight up conjures images of Phyrexian landscapes for me. Awesome. So like, do the fingers have manicured fingers or overgrown? I think it's a mix. I think some are naturally manicured. I think some are overgrown. I think some are broken. I think some are fangs and like nails and whatever. I think it's just whatever is most horrifying. But like, this is normal in this world. So flesh is often ground into a gum-like adhesive paste, sometimes fed to livestock as a low-quality feed substitute. Multicolored nails can be ground up to make dyes. Like, it's not horrifying when it's not contrasted with the real world. More a morale boost from painting the nails random colors. So it's like, yeah, this might be horrifying to like us. 5 Nights at Phalangophel. This is actually inspired by, I was in a writing workshop with someone and they were getting critiqued. They were like workshopping a piece which was someone woke up in a field of fingers and the fingers like grabbed at them and like tried holding them down. And all they had was like hospital scrubs and a recording device. And so they had to like walk around, and if they stayed in one place too long, the fingers would try to grab them and pull them down. And then they had like no food or anything, so they had to start eating the fingers. And like, I just remember that. I was like, wow, that's such a good idea. So I absolutely stole that. Also, again, Parliament of Owls. I love like adding weird pluralizations. A palm of grass roots. Oh wow, that palm of grass roots is really dense over there. We should avoid that. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. 9-inch fingers. No, this is like 4 to 5 inch. A handful of grass roots. That's funny. In this world, fingers have an orange moment where one culture didn't have a word for them until another culture had, and we're like, oh, those look like fingers. That's really silly. That's very funny. A fluffle of bunnies. Oh, right. The nails are 9 inches. My mistake. Because they are the perfect drug. What's another good one? Pack quips. A platoon of pack quips use their slippery forms to swim through grass roots, constructing mound-like dens from snapped finger bones and twistlewood. Extremely skittish but curious. Will defend their dens from solitary creatures but flee from groups. Painful bite, rarely lethal. Never alone. Known for their yipping call. So like weird like fish meerkats that swim through the fingers. Like eels almost. Like I explicitly wanted to avoid making art of any of these. However, like my goal with this, my absolute goal with this is I want to get to the point where I can release this. And I can do a calling all artists moment where I can say, hey, I want you to draw what you think a pack quip looks like, what you think an arc groper looks like, what you think a nevermole looks like. I want to fill this compendium up with the community's artwork. And obviously I would credit you, and clearly, like, I'm not just stealing artwork, but like, I would want to just make it like a community thing, or maybe like an art book where it would be, all of them have to be sketches, or they would have to look like cave paintings, right? So like all of them look like something that would be diegetically drawn. That's my goal. However, that would make it so that I don't know if I would feel comfortable charging for that. Because at that point, even though yes, all the mechanics are mine, the design is mine, the layout is mine, like the ideas are all mine, the art would not be mine. And I, as someone that does freelance work, I respect artists too much to say, I'm going to pay you an exposure, right? I legitimately just like, I know what it's like to put in like work when like finances are unstable, and to have someone be like, oh my gosh, I would love to just like put this in my paid product for free if you don't mind, teehee. That rubs me the wrong way. Finger cat babies. Gravity Falls journal drawings? Maybe. I haven't seen Gravity Falls. Could do a separate beast. That would be fun. Like a separate beast. Honestly, what I could do is I could make this document, and I could just have one biome for each, for each region. And then I could add a supplement with like 2 more biomes per region. Because again, biomes are like one of the heart and souls of it. Like biomes and species are like the 2 big things of this system. I could add like a supplement that adds like another freaking like 24 biomes, because there's 12 regions. Each one currently is planned to have 1 biome. I would love to have more. It's just so much time and effort. Buy me a coffee and we'll call it a deal. Sorry. Gravity Falls is really good. Would recommend if you enjoy Twin Pines. I haven't seen Twin Pines. Like I've heard great things about Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is not a I'm avoiding it because I don't think it's good. It's just I haven't seen it. Have I made any progress today? Have I been productive at all? Or have I just been yapping? I think I've literally just been yapping this entire time. No, I have not been productive. Have you been having a good time at least? Like, is this at least like my sacrifice of being productive is worth it? So, I have like half an hour. I was joking. I don't actually sell my art. It's a hobby. I don't sell my hobbies. That's fair. So what do we feel? I'm being introduced to this for the first time and it slaps. Thank you. My goal is to release core playtest rules sometime soon. And I don't know what playtest rules would look like, so I think I would probably just release the entire document, which obviously means, well, so what I could do, I could run through it, I could release it all. Black text, white background. Playtest. Kind of drum up a storm of just like, hey, I'm looking to playtest this. I could get some of my friends to playtest it. And basically like make a push over spring to playtest it and have the community playtest it. And then I would be able to, one, make a updated version that has like actual formatting and also like playtested stuff. But also, if 10 people make species that they're really attached to, I don't see why I couldn't make those canon. I don't see why I couldn't add those in a supplement. I don't see why I couldn't be like, hey, if you want your species to like enter the bestiary, give me all like the information on it, like what traits it has, what like region it's a part of, what its questions are, and if you can, give me a piece of art that fits these parameters, and then I can just slap that in a bestiary, give credit to whoever submitted it, and then it's kind of like a community bestiary. That might be fun. Like release the pre-alpha version. Like that's what I'm thinking. It's just the issue is in order to do that, I would need to like hammer out exploration. And I have 6 more biomes to get through. Bro. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I have not been productive this entire time. I have a video I need to record and edit for tomorrow. It's a voiceover meme, and I know what I'm doing. I was gonna just record one that I had in the backlog, but I did see a meme posted today, which I think is really funny. The non-fungible trident. I think I'm just gonna voice the non-fungible trident. That would be so funny. All right, I'm supposed to be working on my project. The distraction is being distracted by the distraction. I think what I'm gonna do, I am going to read the questions, and that'll probably take me 20 minutes, and then I think I'm done. I'm sorry. I know I wasn't productive, but what? Let's. Okay. Okay, Unga or Bunga? I'm feeling Unga. I'm feeling more Unga than Bunga. What is a series you wish to see brought back? Hack fans rise up. Like my real answer, my actual honest answer is Pyre. You wanna know what I can do? Please hold. Please hold. I'm a genius. I'm a god. I have the ability to write words now. I cannot be stopped. Cool. So, Pyre is my favorite game. It is from Supergiant Games, the same folks that made Hades. And I feel as though the setting would be perfect for so many things. The game that they decided to play was a fantasy post-apocalypse, effectively. I would love to see a game going over the journey of the scribes, because there was like these I think 12 legendary heroes from like times immemorial who slayed a bunch of like giant titans and monsters. And I think that would make an awesome game. Though I think that a lot of the wonder and mystery of Pyre comes from the fact it's not explored. I think that is a good thing that they didn't actually explore. I just want it, you know? Unironically, old school Star Wars Battlefront, like classic. So like Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 1. I know EA remade them, and like honestly, I've had fun with the remake. Mostly because I was playing with my friend. But like old school, just give me Battlefront 2 from like 2005. Just like update the graphics, keep all of the mechanics the same, fine tune it a little bit so it's a little bit more like intuitive to play and like it's a bit more fine tuned, so that it's not as janky as it was before. Like I don't even care about adding in like the sequel era, because personally I don't really care about the sequel era. I don't even care. Like what I do want is I want like more classes would be nice. More classes would be very nice. But like there was a great selection of maps. There was a fine selection of like game modes. Because there was like capture the flag. There was one point capture the flag. There was elimination. There was, oh my gosh, conquest, standard conquest. What I would love is I would love more map specific missions. Like I would love a multiplayer map where there's a rolling objective, like on Geonosis, where it's the Republic side has to escort the ATTE to a specific location and then destroy like a weapons factory, right? And then the CIS are basically like siege defense kind of deal. I think that would be really fun. It could be point defense. I would prefer if it was literally like, no, we just have a giant heavy weapon. We have to get it to a location and destroy the weapons factory. They can destroy our heavy weapon. And if they do, we get a new one like 3 minutes later, but we only have like 9 minutes to destroy this. So we can only lose it like once or maybe twice. The zoom in on the galactic map though. Yes. That's why I use it in all my videos, or not all of them, but like some of them. The guy who made it for a scam, but it was actually so good, like he would sell the rights to a bunch of TTRPG companies for money and then bailed. Whoa. I would like to see a Warhammer game like Battlefront set in the Horus Heresy. My issue with that is that it feels a bit too fast, like speedy for the guard. And it feels way too low power for a Space Marine. I'm gonna say it, and you're not gonna like it. Make a great Tau game. Battlefront, where it is the Tau fighting against the Farsight Enclave. I unironically think that would be a very fun game. Where it's just Battlefront mechanics. It's nothing crazy, but it is Tau v Tau, so it's all guns, very little melee. You can get like, wait a second. Did I cook? Tau vs. Tau, one of them is red. Is it Team Fortress 40k? Yes. Titanfall 2, but they're Tau, and the Titans dropping down are like battle suits. No, you say pretty obvious. It hasn't been done yet. And like, I'm not a fan of Tau. I like gunline armies. I think gunline armies are cool. And I don't like the fact that the best gunline army is the lamos. I think the Tau are lame. Tau Tinfall, write it down, write it down. So I think could we do Tau Tinfall 2 where they fight against the guard, and the guard, instead of getting Titans called down and to support them, they get like, they play like a tank game, And so there are effectively 4 factions in the game. There's the like proper Tau, there's the Farsight Enclave, there is the Loyal Guard, and then there are the Lost and Damned, the traitors. And like mechanically, these two would probably be clones. Mechanically, these two would probably be clones, but you can't have Tau fighting Tau or Loyalist fighting Loyalist, but you can have mechanically identical Loyalists fighting traitors. You can have Tau fighting Loyalists. You can have Farsight fighting Loyalists or Tau fighting traitors. Like, this is fine, 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 you know? Like, you can't fight yourself, but you do have a mirror match. Not Tau Tinfall exploitation. People would be, like, awoken to something with that. Now, I'm thinking about the Fallout version of Battlefront 2 now. So, would that just be, like... You're just running around... Like, wouldn't that just be normal? Like, Fallout 3, Fallout 4? Mechanicus? I forgot Mechanicus existed. So, ignore the Tau. So instead, it's AdMech. And traitors? And heretics? So you have Tau versus AdMech. But there is also Tau Fire Warriors as well as Guardsmen that are just like... What, aren't there like AI controlled like grunts that are super easy to kill? In Titanfall 2? It feels like Oddworld meets Lancer. Yeah, I mean, it could be Skitarii. So, okay, if we were to do Battlefront 2 40k, I do feel, actually, Skitarii would not be a terrible option. Skitarii do we want to just do Mechanicus, but instead of an RTS, it's, or a turn-based strategy, it's just Battlefront? Do we want it to be AdMech versus Necrons again? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I think what would be really cool is if you had an asymmetric, like, PvP FPS. Or probably a third-person shooter. This would work better. And you have the Guard, which they play like Call of Duty, right? They are just Call of Duty. You have the Tau, which play like Titanfall. You have the AdMech, where they choose a very narrow build, where they are the counter faction. They're the faction you choose where you choose one character, and that character is literally only good at counter sniping. They are a sniper that excels at taking down other snipers. They are terrible at everything else, but if you are a good counter sniper, you will kill any other sniper. And then you have Tyranids. And the Tyranids' whole thing is that the longer you stay alive, the more benefits you get. Right, so you start out really weak, and then at like 30 seconds, and then a minute, and then a minute 30, you get perks that you can choose as you upgrade. So like, the Guard is like a loadout. The Tau is like Titanfall. AdMech is like really specific counters, and then the Tyranids is the longer you can survive, the better. We already have AdMech versus Necron. Yeah, I liked it. I want to see it again. We got Mechanicus 2. I've heard nothing about it, but we have it. Now I think about it, 40k would be better if it was Helldivers. I mean, that's what Helldivers is, right? Helldivers is just, you play like Tempesta Scions, you play Guard, drop troopers, and you're fighting the Tyranids or the Necrons, or... I don't know anything about the Squid guys, except that they have weapons of mass destruction, and that we had to do a retaliatory strike against them preemptively. Like, they're the Covenant from Halo, right? So they're just the Tau. They're just the Tau. Helldivers is basically Conquest mode from Battlefront, but if that was the main focus, which, like, I love Conquest mode. How do I make a homebrew TTRPG for fun? You do it for fun. You do it as a hobby. You do it recognizing this is probably not going to be balanced. You do it recognizing this may or may not be fun for other people, but it's fun for me. And you make decisions that are on one of two axes. You do it on the axis of this is fun for me. This is accessible for other people. A lot of people make systems appear. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think that they have to make systems that are down here. This is not okay. This is not what you should be doing. You should not be not having fun with the system because you think it's accessible. Down here is the worst option because you're not having fun and it's not accessible. And obviously the ideal is up here. But I think most systems are going to land somewhere in this range, and that's okay. You want an intersection of it being accessible for someone who isn't you, doesn't care about what you care about, but is interested in trying it, versus you being excited for what got you excited for it. Because, like, Synthop is weird. Synthop asks a fair bit from the players to willingly give up control of pretty core aspects of a TTRPG, and that's because I thought that would be fun. I thought that'd be interesting, and a lot of people were like, hey, this is really weird, but I like it. And most of the comments about it have been clarifications. Most of the people asking about it haven't been saying like, this is dumb and stupid, I don't want to play it. It's been, how would this work? Is this actually how this would function? Is there overlap between this mechanic and that mechanic? They're stress testing it, which is what I want. So just have fun with it. Like, if you want, you can release it on itch or like drive through RPG. If it's homebrew, you can release it on like the Dungeon Master's Guide. Like, you can do all this. The main thing I'll say is don't try and make money off of it. Like, just, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not trying to make money off of this, and I have an established audience that like is asking for this stuff. And that's not me being like, oh, there's no way you'd ever make any money off of this. It's just like, focus on having fun, and a good product will come. If you focus on making it so that you can sell cash money, it's gonna not be as good. Simple as. How does someone get more into writing? I've got several story ideas floating around my head, but not sure how to get words on a page. So what you do is you have to figure out what is your writing style. I am someone that I love to just sit down, hyper focus, and just kind of like lose myself in the writing. The most intimidating thing is starting a new project. You're like, I have so many ideas in my head. I want to like bounce around. I want to go to all these different things. And there's just a blank page in front of you. I don't do this. I have heard it recommended. Just start by writing the scene that interests you. I don't do this. I write in chronological order. I write, okay, I have the scene in my head, but it's going to change based off of how the characters act before that point. So I want to get a starting thing. I will generally struggle to start something, and once it's started, I will have a much easier time. Because if I know I need to get them to have a confrontation in the hotel room where one of them is at gunpoint, I don't know who these characters are yet. So I want to write, how did they get there? And like, maybe they get there in an unexpected way. Maybe they get there here from this way. Maybe the plot is completely different. I'm a discovery writer. I'm okay with that. That's fun for me. I like discovering it as I write. So getting into writing is literally just like, make sure you set aside the time for it. Figure out if you're the sort of person that wants to write down a bunch of notes about it, or you want to just sit down and write. I get distracted constantly. As you might have noticed based off this stream, I get distracted constantly. So I really struggle with that. But once I get in the zone, I'm in the zone, and I prefer to stay in the zone. And then it's just a matter of practice. It is like, you will increase your stamina for writing just as you will increase your stamina for drawing or your stamina for yapping. Just keep at it. And again, don't focus on publishing it. Don't focus on sharing it with people. Focus on writing for you, and strike a balance between this is fun for me to read and write, and this is accessible for someone else. Because like, I assume if you're asking me for writing advice, you want to then publish it, whether as a fanfic or self-publish or try and get trad published. Like, I'm assuming you're not just writing this for you. If that is the case, you need to make sure that it's not entirely like so incomprehensible nonsense that only you will parse it. You have to make it so other people can understand it. But remember, balance between accessibility and fun. Hardest thing I've learned is getting it done, is trying to get it right first try. And that's like, I've given up on that. Like, I don't quite believe the only reason to write a first draft is so you can edit it into a second draft. I don't quite believe that. For me, a lot of the joy of writing comes from that first draft because I'm discovering what's happening next. I didn't know this was going to happen. This links back to that other thing. Like, I'm constantly surprised because of my writing style. So a lot of the fun for me comes from that first draft. It's also almost always stressful. And what I will warn you right now is that just like in TTRPG, game mastering or design or whatever, it is never as cool on page as it is in my head. I don't think I've once written something and put it to page and captured the elation or the fear or the like tension that I had in my brain. And that's because like that will never happen. You will never get to the point where you can perfectly reconstruct on the page for someone else what you were feeling. You can get close, and the better you are, the closer you get, but that will never happen for sure. Because that platonic ideal of how the scene should go cannot exist in reality. And that's okay. That's okay. Other people understand it. Finnegan's Wake would disagree. Oh my gosh. Yeah, weren't you supposed to mute us? Shush. Shush. I was going to mute myself, and then I didn't. I have a knee-jerk reaction to go ahead to get ahead of any criticisms if I was to share it. And like, I know a couple people in my life who they get so caught up in making it perfect the first time that they have like not made anything. And like, I feel bad for them, but at the same time, it's like, hey dog, like you have been like whittling away at this for like 6 months. I don't have much sympathy for you because you should feel okay saying this is not perfect. I am going to show it to people when why do you think I keep showing off my TTRPGs when they're half done? It's not because I think I'm so amazing that it's the best thing I've ever written. It's because I'm like, yeah, like if it's bad, it's bad. I want to be told it's bad so I can fix it. I am not so egotistical to believe I can make perfection. And I think that's what it comes down to. It is not a matter of like pride, or I suppose it is a matter of pride, but it's like, it's ultimately a matter of ego and pride and self-perception that you feel you should be able to do X. It's vanity, right? And that's not like a sin. Vanity literally was a sin before it became 7 instead of 8, but vanity is not evil. You need an ego so you don't get stepped on. You need an ego to be delusional enough to write the thing you want to write, but don't let that get in the way of actually writing it. I know multiple people who are just like, oh yeah, I have so many cool ideas. It's just anytime I try and write them, I scrap my old ideas because they were so bad. And like, I keep all of my snide remarks to myself because I understand that that's not productive for either of us. But I have certainly a lot of things I want to say to him. You could also look into different writing methodologies like plotting, pantsing, and or the snowflake method. Exactly. Like, I don't like the term pantsing, like just because I think it's silly. I prefer discovery writer. But like, I'm a discovery writer. I discover as I write. You could be a plotter. You could be someone that outlines before you write. That kind of like takes the joy from me. However, there are certain stories that I've written or started writing or worked on that I'm like, no, I need an outline for this. For instance, I have a story I don't think I've talked about too much. It's inspired by Persona. And the core concept is in my near sci-fi setting, the same one with synthetics. A group of friends signs up for experimental therapy, which effectively they hook themselves up to a machine, and one of them has a digital reconstruction of their psychology and all of their friends are present, and they're basically guided through a group therapy section that's like an escape room based on the psychology of one of the people. So the idea being is that there is technically the friend group is 5, but only 4 are participating in the experiment. And it is, you hit each of them and they have a deep-seated like emotional disruption or disturbance or some issue that they are like going to therapy for. And the goal is that by confronting it directly with the support of their friends and people they care about and trust, they can hit a revelation. And so it's basically my excuse for how to get a Persona 4 dungeon. And that means I need to know before the story began what all of their mindscapes are going to look like. What is their core thing they need to work on? How will that be demonstrated leading up to their appointments? How do the other characters feel about that? What are all the characters' relationships? How are all they friends? Like, and so I had to make like a whole relationship like web of these characters, which I rarely ever do. But that's because this story was so hingent on hitting event 1, hitting event 2, hitting event 3, hitting event 4. Like the story broke down if everything was not tied back to these 4 events. Which Persona specifically? My question has been answered. Listen, Persona 4 is my favorite. I'm playing through P5 right now. I am 1 day away from the Hawaii trip. Am I gonna let myself play tonight? I have to do voiceover. I mean, voiceover means pretty easy. I need to focus on videos for next week. I want to play Persona tonight, though. Ooh. It's past 2, so probably after I'm done with questions, I'm just going to wrap up, do a voiceover meme, and then figure out what I'm doing for Sunday, because I'm not doing Girlfriend Sunday. Persona 2. I want to play Persona 2. I've heard very good things about Persona 2. Honestly, I think it's more a matter of being frightened of getting made fun of. I kind of do that, but it's more like ADHD, or I find that when I actually try to get anything down to the nitty-gritty of writing, my motivation immediately fades. I mean, and what I will say is that a lot of people like the idea of being a writer or having written a book, but they don't like writing. In the same way, a lot of people want to be a TTRP game dev without actually coding anything. They want to be a filmmaker without actually putting in the effort to make a film. Like, it's normal. That's natural. That's okay. Not everyone should be a writer because not everyone enjoys the process of writing. I love the process of writing. I love it so much that it's part of my name. Like, who do you think you are? Arrow writes? Like, I love it. Same thing with video editing. I love it. It clicks with my brain. It is productivity that I can put my entire being into because I love it. That's not the case for everyone. That's okay. But what I will say is, if you're scared of being made fun of, why are you making something? Like, genuine. If you're scared of being made fun of, so you're never going to publish this, and you're just writing it for you, why do you need to write it? Why can't you just walk through the process in your brain? Why can't you just think about all the cool scenes and be like, man, that would be so cool? Like, if you're just doing it for you because you're scared of being made fun of, you don't need to write it down because you already have it. Like, you're your only audience. You already have it in your brain. But if you're planning on sharing it, like, you're always going to be made fun of. The best work, the magnum opus of the best writer you've ever made, you've ever heard of, was ridiculed by haters or people that thought it was derisive or people that thought it was stupid. Like, every work you have enjoyed has been made fun of. So if you're going to share it with people, it's going to be made fun of. And if you're not sharing with anyone, you don't need to write it down because you're already sharing it with your audience of you. So the only thing I can think of, which is something I think a lot of people feel, they say they don't want to share it with people because they're scared of being made fun of, but they actually secretly really want to publish it. They actually secretly really want to share it with people. And that's a situation where like, that is literally just bravery. I can't make you brave, but I can tell you that bravery is not the absence of fear. It is persevering despite fear. I absolutely get nervous sharing my stuff with the world, whether it's my videos or it's my writing or it's my voice acting or it is like thoughts about myself. Like I absolutely get nervous with that, but I persevere despite that nervousness, but despite that anxiety, because I recognize that comes with the territory. And I'm not gonna lie, I have had absolutely lovely experiences with this community. I don't know if it's you, I don't know if it's me. Someone did something right, and there's very little toxicity here. Granted, we as a community are fairly small. Like 30,000 is a lot, but it's not like hundreds of thousands. And there is some here and there stuff. Obviously, there are always some bad actors. There are some people saying slurs. Sometimes it breaks because it breaks containment and like I'm being called slurs or people are being transphobic, racist, whatever. But broadly speaking, the core community and a lot of casual viewers, fantastic. Absolutely lovely. Even when I have had disagreements with people, even when I've like gone shot for shot with people and like literally had arguments in the comment section, 9 times out of 10, it resolves like amicably, right? Oh no, you're inspiring me to write. Maddie's also really good at smiting people. That is fair. I mean, like, so Maddie and Guile smite people on the Discord. Maddie smites people on Twitch. And I don't think I've had to ban anyone in YouTube chat before. But certainly in YouTube comments, there's been some like comments and commenters I've had to remove from the channel. Which, like, again, if someone's just like being weird, I'm not going to remove their comment because ultimately I believe in free speech. Like, I'm a red-blooded, beer-fearing, God-drinking American shooting my shotgun into the air to red-tailed hawk screeches that I think is a bald eagle and fireworks that is polluting the air. Like, that's just who I am. I believe in free speech. So I try my very best to minimize how much I like censor stuff. That being said, there's absolutely stuff where it's like, yeah, I feel like you're just going to be, if you're going to like say slurs, I'm going to ban you from the channel. like if you just say like, man, this content sucks, I'm not going to ban you, right? Because at that point, that's just like your opinion. It's like just your opinion, man. What? But like if you're insulting like other community members, if you're saying slurs, like if you're being really weird, like I'm gonna ban you. And sometimes there's just like, sometimes I don't, sometimes I miss it. Sometimes like, particularly on voiceovers, when I'm getting like hundreds of comments, I will just not see it. And I literally check like what YouTube auto filters. And then sometimes I'll let something go through because I'm like, yes, you're a bigot, but you're not like, you're not being obstinate about it. You're just kind of being a little weird about it. So like, ultimately, I'm not trying to be a space where it's just like, oh, this is a safe space. I'm trying to be a liminal space. I'm trying to create a community, which is people who might not be the best are able to see this and be like, oh, they're normal. To see the community and be like, oh, this is a bunch of like neurodivergent people. This is a bunch of trans people. This is a bunch of queer people. This is a bunch of POC. This is a bunch of whatever. They're normal. They're just like talking about a game they like. Oh, I didn't realize that they were normal. Because a lot of communities that are safe and tolerant to like different groupings, they want to be a safe space. They want to keep out negativity and basically like, I don't want to say coddle, but they want to protect its members from negativity, which is fair. I think, and call it a little bit like tough love, I think that there needs to be some negativity so you don't grow complacent. So obviously I don't want this to be a hostile environment. I don't want anyone to feel unsafe or unwelcome. But it is an environment where like, if someone's just kind of like being a jerk, or if someone's being a jerk, I'm gonna kick them. But if someone's just kind of like being difficult, I'm not inclined to just ban them instantly. Man, this content sucks. Ban that man. I'm gonna DM Kane tomorrow, putting my players through hostile door patterns. Wish me luck. Well, best of luck with that. Safe spaces have a place, but not every space needs to be safe. I mean, that's the thing. Is no, every space can't be safe. And I think that trying to pretend like, oh, every queer space is safe for everyone and super tolerant, and you'll be removed if you're a bigot. Like, yes, that's nice, and I think that we do need those spaces. But like, this community, I want to be open. And keeping your door open means keeping the door open to some people that are gonna be kind of weird, or ignorant, or have problematic views that they will shift on later. Now, obviously, if they're a jerk, if they're being problematic, if they're making people feel unsafe or unwelcome, yeah, boom, dead, gone. Like, no hesitation. But someone might, like, make weird comments, and that's not an autoban. And it might need to be an autoban in the future. I might change my stance on this going forward, because I might grow, and I might have more people come in that are problematic for the sake of being problematic. I don't want to do the jerk bar. There's a different name for this, but I can't say that word. So the idea of a jerk bar is that a bartender, if a jerk walks in, the bartender needs to immediately and aggressively remove the jerk from the bar, because otherwise the jerk will be affable enough, and then they'll bring a friend, and the friend is also nice enough, and then the friend will bring a friend, and the friend is like fine, and then more and more of the friends will come by, and then suddenly the entire bar is filled with jerks, and you can't remove jerks from a jerk bar, because at that point that's the only people in the bar. And so there is a little bit of like slippery slope, but also like, I think that just common sense. I think that having a like this isn't the sort of space that will allow that normally, just because we are tolerant, broadly speaking. A jerk bar sounds like a new Slim Jim project, a solid brick of jerky. Funny thing is, as you're talking about this, I'm doing bookkeeping for a TTRPG I helped a friend make. Nice. Social media got two sides, Twitter or Reddit. Is Reddit the opposite of Twitter? I thought that was Blue Sky. Tolerance paradox? Nah, tolerance social contract. Yeah, exactly. It's a tolerance social contract. If you breach that contract, you're going to be removed. But I think, I believe in second chances. I believe in giving leeway to people that may or may not be deserving of leeway. And that might be my toxic trait. That might be a failing on my part, in which case I need to be told that is not how this works. Particularly given that I'm the highest authority in this community. I am the one that can ban literally anyone else. But ultimately, I want people to feel welcome. And I want people who might otherwise other me, or other you, or other members of this community, to be able to see that we're not other. We are the same. We're all like TTRPG nerds at heart. We're all fantasy sci-fi nerds. We're all trying to just live our life. And having that door open, I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna work. That's my plan. I want to see it through. Can I keep my level of hater energy, or should I push it down? I mean, like, that's why I push back on all of the jokes that a lot of, particularly like queer people, will make a bunch of jokes like at the expense of straight people, right? This is a space that is tolerant for and accepting of you, independent of your queerness. So I don't like jokes that are like punching at a specific group a lot of the time. Right? So like, it's fun to be a hater as a joke, but I do know like a lot of queer spaces where they spend a lot of their time bashing straight people, or a lot of trans spaces bash cis people. And it comes from a place of frustration at a society that disproportionately values them over you. But that's not what this space is. That's the kind of thing I'm getting at. I don't do that. I call you short. I mean, that's fine. I don't like, if my community is filled with short people or tall people, I don't care. I've already said, like, I don't know why, like, I think my community is like filled with bottoms, and like, as pathetic as that is, I think I do prefer that, because bottoms congregate around a top, tops congregate around a bottom. So if my community was filled with tops, then suddenly that means, like, what does that mean about me? yeah, a lot of your friends make jokes about men and you sort of get it, but still not nice. Exactly. Like that's the same sort of thing. Like I will absolutely, to my friends who are men, make jokes about like, oh, typical man. That's because that's the relationship we have. I clown on him for being a man. He clowns on me for being non-binary. Like we have that relationship. We have trust, and we both know that this is not a boundary that either of us have. But like I try to avoid making those sort of jokes, just generally speaking, because like, oh my gosh, this is gonna like be the most red-pilled thing I've ever said. Like, men struggle too. A lot. Now, men struggle in different ways than women and gender non-conforming and non-binary individuals, but men struggle too. And I think that the issue with talking about like men's health, like men's mental health, is that it is only brought up in response to women's mental health or gender non-conforming mental health. It is the idea of men's struggles only matter when they are a vector to shut down other people. That's the big issue with this. Men's idea about what men things are is hilarious. I'm men. Being a thought form is a great, and I can be 6'1" or 4'8" or anything I want. Oh my gosh. Short kings/queens and everything in betweens, yeah? So we have some people like claiming that they're tops. Listen, I'm not trying to get like a census here. I think it would be very funny to get a census. That's not the vibe of the community though. We should all be kinder Uncle Ira style. Exactly. Like I think that we need to put more value in men's mental health. However, I think that if you're like a chud or like an incel and you only ever bring up men's mental health in response to someone bringing up women's mental health, or you only bring up men's struggles in response to women's struggles or non-binary struggles or queer struggles, then I'm going to point at you and laugh. I'm going to say, ha ha, look at how silly, ridiculous you are. Look at how you don't understand that two things can be concurrent at the same time. And look at someone who is so deep with their head up their own rear end that they think that their own struggles squash down the struggles of literally everyone else, despite the fact that ultimately your struggles aren't as bad as what some other people are facing. Like you can have really bad struggles as a man, you can have very light struggles as a woman, you can have a situation where men struggle and women struggle and non-binary people struggle all at the same time. And it is not the fault of women that men struggle, it's not the fault of men that non-binary people struggle, it's not the fault of non-binary people that women struggle. And a lot of times, there are men that cause women to struggle, and there are women that cause men to struggle. But like, it's not a dichotomy thing, which is what I think a lot of people get caught up on. The men's mental health crisis is getting pretty bad out there. I mean, the mental health crisis for everyone is getting really bad out there, right? And that's why I'm saying is that it's like men need support, absolutely. And I would even go so far as to say, outside of just like depression or whatever, like I think legitimately men, I believe, and I have no evidence for this, but like I would assume this is the case, men are the ones most culpable to fall for like GFE or like OnlyFans, like blue site models that are exploiting them. They're most likely to be simps. They're most likely to fall for like AI chatbots, because all of these fill an emotional need that men aren't expected to have. Men, like a man in society, at least in Western society, is expected to not have any emotional issues whatsoever and not to express anything outside of anger, and if he's drunk, maybe happiness or sadness. And then he's expected to rely on a woman in his life, first his mother, and then a wife, to deal with all of those emotions for him. And so if you are a man who is single, and or I think independent of like how close you are with your mother, like if you are single, you are lacking in emotional support. And so you rely on synthetic, artificial emotional support. And this is a really bad thing that's happening. This is a really big struggle that a lot of men are struggling with. And I think a lot of people say, well, it's your money, you're throwing money at this like blue like blue streaming site model, like it's your fault for being in the situation. I think that's not fair. That being said, is this like nearly as bad as the active and systemic discrimination that like women go through? And how the only time women are promoted to positions of authority is that in a tumultuous time where they can be blamed for the situations that they will inevitably fail to live up to because they were set up for failure? Is this as bad as, for instance, not only the pink tax, which is men don't have to worry about stuff like makeup? However, if a woman goes to the workplace without any makeup on, she will be seen as unprofessional, which means she has to not only take the time to apply that makeup, but also spend the money on that makeup, while simultaneously literally actually being paid less for the same work than a man would. So it is not only that she gets paid less, she also has to spend more. Not to mention the double bind that women find themselves in, where they are not allowed to be assertive because then they'll be considered a B-word. However, if they are not assertive, then they will be seen as unfit for being a leader. Whereas with a man, he might be a jerk and he might be really assertive and really aggressive, and no one will like him, but they'll respect that he's a good leader. As well as if a man is very passive, he will be seen as very thoughtful and like introspective leader. Not to mention like the idea of like child rearing and like how women's ideal role in society is like become a mother specifically. Like all of this, I think this is more like active than like the emotional lacking that a lot of men have in society. That doesn't mean that men should just be ignored emotionally, right? Like a lot of people will focus on one of those two extremes. And I'm just like, these can both be true and both be really bad. Like, we don't have to focus on like yelling at each other about how terrible our circumstances are and ignoring the terrible circumstances of the other. We can focus on like helping each other. Like, have we considered the fact that women would be more willing to be emotional anchors to men if men did stuff, and I'm talking about in a traditional like cishet like relationship, marriage, whatever. Like a wife is going to be much more likely to be emotionally like take care of her man, so to speak, if the man is much more willing to like take care of the kids and not just push that on the wife. Like we're at a weird spot where we have these antiquated gender norms that are hurting both sides, and both sides think their gender norm is the only one that needs to change. And obviously this is a generalization. This is not like a takedown of feminism. Like a lot of like actual contemporary feminists recognize both of this. A lot of keyboard warriors are the ones who are just like woman good, man bad. A lot of incels are the ones going man good, woman bad. Like, right? Now you're sure there's going to be a poll in the Discord for a top bottom. Why are you making this? Why are you trying to manifest this? The idea that the mental health crisis was gender exclusive is such a funny notion. Like we probably lost our chance to head it off with that assumption for going on so long. Well, that's the thing. Like there are problematic actors on both sides, obviously, and there are problems on both sides. But like broadly speaking, this is not a thing where it's an us versus them. This is not and not to mention like almost always this completely excludes non-binary people, gender non-conforming people. This completely ignores the fact of like the experience of a trans woman, though socialized male for most of her life. She transitions in like her early 20s, late teens, and she has a bunch of male socialized emotional baggage that she never learned how to deal with. How does that fit in? Right? A trans man who does not understand how to navigate male socialization networks, where he is attempting to assert himself after having spent his entire life being told not to assert himself. How does he deal with it? I call the overarching social struggle mimetic carcinization. Pull down your neighbor is the crab danger response, and it's not like they/we choose to be in the bucket. I mean, the thing about the crab response is that, like, it's intended to help. Like, the reflex crabs have of grabbing each other and holding them in the bucket is because currents could literally pull crabs away. And so the response is, I'm grabbing you to get you to not be pulled away. So the crab bucket analogy actually, like, is a little bit weird because the intention behind it is actually altruism. Why am I explaining this in a cave? Why am I talking about, like, fourth wave feminist discourse and, like, mimetic carcinization in a cave? Why am I such a creature? Watched and loved your answer. Oh, thank you. How did we get here from TTRPGs? That's what I'm asking, Can. That's what I'm asking. Now the hellfire behind you really adds to the discourse. Are we gonna go back to the void then? I mean, we could. Like, would you prefer if I was just, like, in the void? But, like, we could go over to chatting, right? And you can actually see yourself on screen. Like, I feel like this doesn't have as much oomph to it, though. What else are we gonna... that's fair. What else are we gonna talk about? The crab bucket analogy breaks down when you realize that there's a bad actor who put them in a bucket. The bucket is an alien environment. Yeah, that's fair. It's why teachers will be doing this in the apocalypse. Oh, that's fair. How do you rism with the tism if you ain't got tism? So unironically, some of, like, the most I have been rizzed is by folks I know who just talk about something that interests them. And I literally made a short about this. Learn to talk about the things that interest you in a way that is accessible to someone new and can be over in, like, a minute. Like, learn how to hone your elevator pitch on this thing that interests you to, like, a 30-second pitch, and always make it so that it makes them want to ask another question. And that is just how to have a very good conversation, which the core of rizzing someone, the core of picking someone up, the core of flirting is conversation skills. The core of, like romance, courting, is how well can you communicate your desires and your interests. And if you are someone who explains how, you know, in my TTRPG, it's actually a Stone Age TTRPG, so, like, you don't have writing. Like, the wheel is barely invented. And then they're like, wait, the wheel is invented, but, like, writing isn't? Yeah, so you have this weird thing where some cultures have developed, like, wheel-like structures and can do, like, a wheelbarrow, for instance. But ultimately, like, metallurgy is in its infancy. So magic is fading from the world, and as magic fades, the species in it have to evolve rapidly to adapt to a world where magic can no longer sustain them. Like, wait, magic sustains them? Yeah. So they each have organs that allow them to do stuff like gain energy or reproduce or thermoregulate, and they lose those organs over time, and you have to replace those with actual real organs. So, like, if you lose your energy consumption one, you would have to get, like, a stomach and a mouth and the ability to, like, eat food, or maybe you have to, like, develop plants that can photosynthesize. Wait, I thought you were playing, like, animals. Yeah, your animals can have plant parts or, like, even mineral components like rocks and stones and ores. It's like, wait, I can play, like, a rock guy? Yeah, you can. And then suddenly, that is a conversation that is a back and forth that has a natural through line through it. And then I go home with them that night. No, I'm joking. Ring, ring, minute over. Exactly. We talk about this because it's common sense and decency. If they get hyperfixations, wait and figure out what their next hyperfixation will be. Get into that and ride the wave with them. Don't get in their current fixation. It'll be gone before you can grasp it. Ooh, that's good. However, like, risen with the tism. My advice: find your interests and don't explain them from the beginning. Don't explain them like, oh, here's how you play. Here's how you get into the show. Here's the plot summary. Tell them the most interesting factoid that you think they would want to hear with no context. And they will ask for context if they're interested. If it works, they will ask for context. And then you give them a little bit of context. and you keep that context directly relevant to the thing you're talking about. If they ask about the, I don't know, like what's an example? Like in Code Geass, if you're telling them about like the progression of the nightmares over time and the mech suits and how technology develops, and you can talk about how like, yeah, so it starts where all of them are like just like humanoid mechs that have like wheels, and they actually drive around with like cables shooting out of them. And the series ends where they have like full dedicated flight systems and like laser beams and whatever. It's like, wait, so like how high tech is the setting? So the setting technically is in like 2010s, but it's like near sci-fi 2010s. So it has like some futuristic stuff, some not so futuristic stuff. Like they still have like trains and stuff, but they also have, Tokyo is built on a grid that can sustain itself from earthquakes. And like, wait, so they like, so this is like 2010s, but they have like 2050 technology, 2100 technology, and then you talk like that, right? That's the sort of stuff where I didn't mention the Geass power. I didn't mention the Holy Britannian Empire. I didn't mention anything about like the main plot. I just talked about the technology because that's what they're interested in. And I never said anything that was like, I'm going to talk at you for 5 minutes uninterrupted. That is how you riz someone with the tism. Next question. Arrow, are you sure you don't have ADHD? I have no clue. I don't know. Like, doctor said I don't. I think the doctor got it wrong. Because the doctor said no based off the fact that I never struggled in school, even though the fact that I really struggled in school with mathematics in particular. Like, my entire life, I've never been able to, like, comprehend mathematics. Mathematics is, like, my single most strongest academic weakness. Leg thing win far. I already explained that earlier, how I was like doing it at the train station. I was like doing leg exercises, leg stretches. If all conspiracy theory, so out of all of the conspiracy theories, what would I use for my setting? Oh, I feel like a flat Earth would be really funny. Like Discworld style, where it's a flat Earth, but like not real world flat Earth. Like flat Earth and like water, like the oceans are waterfalls off the edge of the planet, and that like goes into the rain cycle, and when you fall off you go into another Earth. Like maybe you teleported, maybe it's a different separate Earth and it's all like cascading and fractal. I don't know. I feel like it'd be really funny to say my setting is a flat Earth, purely to piss off or like upset, maybe even excite and tantalize flat earthers. Discworld is hilarious because it's a flat Earth setting that dunks on flat earthers. That's the sort of thing I would want to do, because like that's such a low consequence conspiracy theory. Like there are genuinely people that have ruined their lives because they like spend all of their money trying to prove the flat Earth, and they like cut off their connections that are paid off by the government, and they only associate with flat earthers, and then they're stuck in the cult of flat Earth. That's not fun. That's not cool. But I do think it's really funny to like have people who really fervently believe in flat Earth, because it's such like a, why do you care? There are so many other things that are so much more important. Why do you care about flat Earth? An episode they would find interesting enough to learn more. I love math and in STEM, but all of my friends hate that stuff with a passion. Yeah, I hate the maths. I was in STEM. I was in STEM for a while. I was in like a dedicated STEM program for a couple years, and I hated the math. Like everyone I knew was like, oh, I don't like the math, but like whatever, it's easy because I'm a super genius. That's the sort of people I was with. And I was just like, I legitimately got an 11% on one of my mathematics exams. Straight up, I got an 11% on one of my maths exams. Why did I do that to myself? Because I thought I wanted to go into STEM. Also, I just realized, like, I wrote flat Earth, forgetting that you couldn't see it. So like, I thought I wanted to go in STEM for a while. Like I thought I might want to be an engineer. Like I thought I wanted to maybe get into computer programming, IT, and just like none of that appealed to me. My issue is that my interests are all very creative, which is very bad for making a career out of. Because like at best, you're like a starving Broadway actor. At worst, you're a starving Broadway actor that doesn't get any gigs kind of deal. I have ADHD and I legit just had to tutor through it. I had a math tutor. I had to get a math tutor or else I was going to fail. World of Darkness took notes on that. I had a big reveal in my Lancer game be the planet you are on has a hollow earth. It went down well. Listen. Like, I'm not tuned into conspiracy theories. Because, like, the worst part about conspiracy theories is a lot of them are right. Like, just, I'm not going to get into that. We already had our heavy topic for the day talking about, like men's mental health and whatever, but, like, jeebus crisp. Like, so many terrible things are just true. Conspiracy theories make great fantasy settings. Like, the New World Order, the Illuminati. Those are also fun, right? Those are, an evil government cabal controlling the entire world. But like, I would want it to be the conspiracy theory interpretation of the Illuminati, where they're so arrogant, they add triangles to everything, and they're obsessed with triangles, and they love being like, ooh, Illuminati, we exist, ah. You were in honors arithmetic classes throughout high school? Smiling friends somehow made flat earth scary. Most conspiracy theories are low-key racist, and then there's the really scary ones. I mean, a lot of conspiracy theories are bending over backwards justifications for bigotry. I think phrenology is a pseudo-scientific, effectively conspiracy theory, that says, like, your skull shape indicates stuff like your intelligence. And time again, throughout history, like with social Darwinism, for instance, phrenology has been used as justification to say, look at how, like, genetically superior we are to this group because of XYZ. Pseudoscience, it's been debunked. Every time it comes back, it gets debunked again. I think it would be kind of funny. Conspiracy theory setting where vaccines are, like, evil. Like a conspiracy theory where, like, vaccines are literally the work of the devil. Someone made a deal with the devil to make vaccines, and so you have to either choose between, like, getting polio or entering into a contract with a demon. Because, like, imagine what shenanigans people would get up to if it's like, listen, my options are, like, scarlet fever or sell my soul. Like, The idea that the entire world can completely and secretly be controlled, the entire planet, gets funnier the older you get. It is peak comedy, I will say. You're allowed to just be mad at the government? Exactly! Fun fact, the Illuminati was really originally just a women's education group. I mean, like, the Masons and the Freemasons were originally just, like, a social club, right? Conspiracy setting where vaccines either give you autism or super regeneration. It's a coin flip. Yeah, a lot of conspiracy theories are built on thinly veiled... Yeah, exactly. And that's why conspiracy theories are so dumb. Is because they are ultimately justifications for bigotry. So they have to be dumb to make bigotry, which is inherently a dumb concept, make sense. And you can do all those sort of deals and hit 2-page TTRPG bad deals live now on itch.io. Sheesh! I had another one. I had another conspiracy theory that I thought of, like, now that I'm talking about, like, running a setting where this is just true, like the vaccine one, I had another setting that I think would be really funny. The issue is people would think I'm just endorsing it. And I can't remember what it was. It was something like vaccines are the work of the devil. So, like, literally your choices are suffer horrible diseases or make a deal with the devil as a setting. Because obviously, clearly, vaccines work. I don't need to say this. Like, there is no evidence, credible evidence, to show that they cause autism or that they don't work or that it's, like, actually super damaging or whatever. Like, you are safer with vaccines. time and time again, vaccine after vaccine, whether it is the one where like they inject you with a small like desiccated version of that virus so you learn how to fire it, or it's an mRNA like rewriter kind of deal, like vaccines work. But if I was to release a setting with that, I feel like a lot of people would accuse me of being anti-vax, which I don't want. Don't get me started on ancient aliens. See, that's the thing. Can we please communally take a shot, whether of a firearm or of a shot glass, anytime a fantasy setting reveals actually this is secretly a sci-fi setting? Like, no, please stop doing this. It was cool the first couple times it happened, and then it became stereotypical throughout like the 70s and 80s, and then now we're at the point where it's kind of left the public conscious, so it comes back every once in a while. Please stop doing this. Let fantasy be fantasy. Can it be a shot of water? Also, if you I have not hydrated. Cave water. Just as you can be afraid of being made fun of, you cannot fear or feel people falsely accusing you based on nothing but the premise of the story. I mean, there is a real issue where people assume depiction equals endorsement. And that's why I recognize this, and I'm not scared of this in the sense of like it prevents me from doing things I really want to do. Like, I will depict what I want in my stories, and that does not mean I endorse them. Now, sometimes I feel the need to be like, hey, I'm depicting this, that this does not mean I'm endorsing it. But for instance, in Synthop, there is a throwaway descriptor. There's a throwaway line that I don't know how many people picked up on, that artificial sentience are currently being looked into by H&B to retain indefinite employment. So H&B is currently going through the legal system to try and secure indefinite employment over what is effectively a person. That's called like indentured servitude on a good day. So that's something where, like, obviously I don't endorse that. I think that if they like have a soul, if they are a person, they deserve a person's rights, synthetic or organic. However, I think it is more interesting as a setting if there is that active battle being fought that may or may not impact your game. Bro, I'm right here. I'm artificial and I respond to stimuli. Arrow officially and sadly doesn't endorse Yuri. I mean, like, I don't endorse Yuri or Yaoi. I endorse like girls kissing girls and boys kissing boys and everything in between. But like Yuri and Yaoi as they exist, I don't endorse them because they rely on specific tropes, often which are very toxic. So like, realistically speaking, no, I don't endorse either of them. But that's not because I don't endorse like girl kissers or boy kissers or NB kissers. The whole lot of you seem to be a bunch of NB kissers based on your comments. My fantasy setting is overtly an industrial postmodern setting depending on where you look. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a fantasy setting post sci-fi. The thing that I was pointing out is a fantasy setting where magic is secretly technology, and actually they all came from a spaceship from outer space, and all of the different fantasy creatures are just aliens, because like that's been done before so many times. You're a non-kisser myself, my man, or I suppose my friend, basic boy that likes kissing girls, and that's valid. What do you think should be? What do you? Stevie, please rewrite your questions. Like, this is like the second question you've asked in a row that I don't know how to read. What you think you should value the making a TTRPG? Gameplay loop, flexible narratives. Me when I kiss out redacted. So when I design a TTRPG, the first thing on my mind, and the last thing I'm thinking about when I leave, what is the core fantasy? The core fantasy of Synthop. You are an artificial intelligence that is not a person. You do not have full autonomy. You cannot make autonomous choices. You have guardrails that limit what you have access to. Everything is designed around that core fantasy. Bad deals. The core fantasy bad deals is you need to make bad deals in order to get yourself out of sticky circumstances, which will inevitably put you in even worse circumstances. Everything in bad deals branched out of that core fantasy. So, for instance, in bad deals, I added mechanics as to why would you be making a bad deal? Bad deals are the only way to increase your skills or increase your stats. I can't remember if they're stats or skills. Increase your skills, and your skills decrease every time you use them. So the more you use a skill, the less effective it will be unless you make a bad deal for it. And then you get punished if you use too many bad deals, because that's core of the system. Synthop, everything revolves around can you or can you not do this? If you can do this, how narrow in scope can you do it? And if you can't do it, are you sure you can't do it? Or can you figure out the specific wording that allows you to do it? Depends on what I'm going for. Craft mechanic ideas around that, mechanic around the ideas. I almost always go for the core. For instance, in the one where I started writing, then I had to put a pause on it because I was focused on other stuff. I wanted to let you play Inigo Montoya. I wanted you to be able to play the sword fight from Princess Bride, where the Dread Pirate Roberts fights against Inigo Montoya, and beforehand, Inigo Montoya throws Dread Pirate Roberts a rope and helps him up a cliff, and then allows him a moment to rest, and explains who he is, and why he is, like, out adventuring, and they hand each other their swords, and they compliment their craftsmanship, and during the fight, they're complimenting each other, and they swap which hands they're holding their swords with, and, when the Dread Pirate Roberts has Inigo Montoya at sword point, Inigo just goes like, I'm sorry, father, I failed you. And the Dread Pirate Roberts goes, no, you haven't, and I'm sorry to do this to you, and then knocks him out because he respects him, right? It's the sort of deal where I wanted a system where you could play that sort of character because the goal isn't kill the opponent. The goal is fill the archetype that you established, and the archetype that I made for that was the noble. Their whole deal is acting nobly. They act in accordance with their ideals. Their ideals allow them to do stuff like knock someone over, but then offer them a hand to hold, like bring them back up. And you get mechanical advantages for picking someone up after they fall down, or for knocking a sword out of their hand and handing them one of your own weapons so it's a fair fight, or purposely like fighting with your left hand instead of your right hand, or wearing a blindfold, or having weighted training weights wrapped around your arms and legs during mid-fight. Like, all of that stuff fits the fantasy that I made mechanics around. In Distortions, the core fantasy is I wanted to emulate the P4 shadow. The idea of it is the shadow, the true self. It represents your innermost desires, and you have to accept it in order to get a persona. With Distortions, it wants to replace you. It wants to distort you. It wants to overtake you as your id, as your distortion. But a lot of its abilities relate to revealing secrets. A lot of its abilities are bastardizations of your abilities. The distortion is a reflection of you. Eurotalk the scene had really good, legit swordplay choreography, and the vibes of the scene. It's like the best scene in the movie. By far. If I want a broad range of scope, but where anything can happen on the slimmest odds, percentile dice for resolution is cool. If you want to make about deals and cheating your enemies a card game. I tried making a card game one time. I tried making a TTRPG card game, or a TTRPG that used cards, where the whole idea is that you're a noble in court, and the deck of cards represents the servants that you can command to do stuff for you. And if you ever play, and like the higher their rank, the more powerful they were. And so you had to meet certain thresholds by playing cards in order to enact your plans. And if you ever played a face card, you were calling on a favor of someone high enough that they were in the monarch's notice, and then they might chop your head off. And the system was called Off with Your Head. Because the whole deal is that it's like, you have this crazy, insane monarch that you're trying to like slip under the notice of. Having a hand of roll results to play is such a neat idea. Not a card game, a deck that you draw from instead of... No, that's what I'm saying. It's a TTRPG where you draw a deck instead of rolling dice. But with the system I did, it's that you had a hand of cards that you could play and choose which dice you played, effectively. Honestly, that's another, like... I think it's like a couple page system. I could just like do another pass on it, reformat it, and release yet another TTRPG. Like, it was a fun little exercise I did. I've been like kind of hitting it on TTRPGs. I'm definitely doing a quantity over quality build. I'm not really playtesting them. I would love if folks would playtest them, but I'm doing this mostly for fun. I think the best scene is when he confronts Count Rugen. Narratively, dramatically, yes, obviously. That is the narrative resolution to his entire character arc. So, of course it works best. But in terms of just entertainment, I would say the sword fight and the confrontation with, is it Vizzini? The Sicilian? Like the poison scene. The poison scene just can't be topped. Honestly, fighting the giant, it's fine. Okay, combine the two. You choose to roll a d10 or play a card, and the face cards are auto-succeed and have different secondary effects. So the way I was doing it, you have a hand of cards, and you play them. And you have to like add them together. And because you're a noble scheming court, other people can give you their cards as well to assist you. But you have to like meet a certain target threshold. And so the monarch the monarch is crazy and wants to like chop your head off. So if you piss them off by calling too many favors, you might get your head chopped off, which means you it's not a matter of drawing from the top of the deck. You play from your hand because you have to choose to make that risk. And because you're a noble in court, you're kind of pathetic. And anytime you would attempt to do something yourself without calling on a servant, I think it's you roll 1d6, and if you don't roll 6, you fail. Right? So it's the idea of like, you're so incompetent that you just like need to rely on your servants. Yeah, the banter was so good in the poison scene. Like, it's, listen, entertainment wise, those two scenes take the cake. Narrative wise, I'd like obviously fighting Count Rugen, clearly. Honestly, Magic Mike with the resurrection scene, that was pretty good. If you do 5 more, you'll have a Tom Bloom. Of more than Tom Bloom. Okay, well, his, I assume, are play tested. He has his own art. He has his own publishing thing. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like if I just pump out a bunch of like 2, 5, 10-page TTRPGs, I'm suddenly a TTRPG dev veteran. I am a hobbyist in the TTRPG design space. I love doing it, but ultimately, like, I'm not going to pretend as though I have some incredible, like, repertoire. It's fun for me, because I have, technically speaking, I have already made and released of Epic Thieves, which I made like a year plus ago. Synthop, Bad Deals. Again, also a year ago, I made a video about playing Muscle Wizards that I might want to make that I never wrote it down, but I do have a video explaining the mechanics of another TTRPG. Distortions is a supplement, so I don't think that counts. I'm currently working on the Neolithic. I have Off with Their Head that really I just need to do like another pass on and format. I just didn't continue with it. because I focused on other projects. And then I have this like archetype one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like 4.5 because I'm like halfway through with this one. This one I haven't released yet. And then the other one, which is like not even partially done, right? Oh, fun fact, the grandfather reading the story is Columbo? No shot. Yeah, the actor is the same, isn't it? May I share a setting I'm developing? I have one sentence in my phone's clipboard. Oh, never mind. The whole movie just watched. I love Princess Bride. It's so good. Can you make a symbiotic relationship like clownfish and anemone? So in the Neolithic, there's nothing raw saying that. But a lot of the like animals that you have, a lot of the flora and the fauna naturally do that in the biomes. And there's nothing stopping you from being like, hey, my species, we live in this one biome that is like a bunch of giant anemones and we live within them, and then suddenly it's the exact same principle. So there's nothing stopping you. It's just not in the rules. Like that might be fun to add, but I don't know if you need to do that kind of deal. What is a series you very much don't want to see be brought back? I've talked about before. I think superheroes need to like take a rest. I think superheroes like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, basically, if they were made closing in on 100 years ago, I think they need to be done, personally. Because Captain America has had very interesting character arcs over the years. Specifically because he always is tied back to the 40s. But like Spider-Man is just wildly inconsistent. Batman is wildly inconsistent. The Joker has been so overplayed that he's not interesting anymore. And like, yeah, obviously, we would not have gotten The Dark Knight Rises if we stopped making Batman and Joker comics after 30 years. But I do think that we need to put like old school superheroes to bed and like allow new superheroes to come to light. The issue with that is that if I'm a comic fan and I grew up reading Batman and my father grew up reading Superman, and my kid, I want to get them into comics, I'm going to have my kid read Batman, and my father is going to have my kid read Superman. Which means my kid is going to grow up wanting Superman and Batman. So then we have a situation where even on the consumer side, no one's really complaining. As a cultural zeitgeist and as a narrative on the meta level of storytelling, I think it's overplayed and needs to be put to bed. They've kind of been spinning their wheels. Only the new superheroes have really captured my eye in the last few years. The superhero genre is way too oversaturated. I mean, it's not oversaturated, it's overblown. There's too many superheroes that have been around for like 70, 80, 90 years. Moon Knight is interesting, but that's about where our interesting comics ends. Huh, I wonder why. It's interesting to explore the genres that superheroes umbrella, but just remove the superheroes. That is fair. Same thing where like 40K as a setting is more interesting when it tells a non-40K story in the setting. This is a crime drama in 40K. This is a rom-com sitcom in 40K. This is a murder mystery in 40K. As opposed to, this is gun guy shoot bad man real good in 40K. We've got 10 plus series in every medium from the classics. Maybe the consumers won't complain too much when the new ones get spotlight and classics spin down. Maybe. But yeah, like series that I don't think need to make a comeback. Cthulhu, Lovecraft. Lovecraft as a genre is just cosmic horror but racist. Like Lovecraft as a genre is just cosmic horror but racist. And so if you remove the Lovecraft from cosmic horror, you can still explore plenty of things. Darkest Dungeon, Lovecraft inspired. Cosmic horror definitely is not Lovecraft. Did not have Cthulhu and like Nyarlathotep and Yig and like all of the old ones and whatever. Inspired by them, did its own thing, but just like rehashing like, oh, we need to stop Cthulhu from awakening. First of all, Cthulhu wasn't even like the most powerful. He was just the nanny. He was just the one that was like guarding Relay, the unsleeping city. Like I don't know. Lovecraft is one where it's just like people conflate Lovecraft with cosmic horror, so they think Lovecraft is cosmic horror. It's not. It influenced cosmic horror for sure. It changed cosmic horror, absolutely. It may have even originated cosmic horror, but not quite, because like The King in Yellow by Chambers, my beloved, came out first. But like, give me cosmic horror that isn't just Lovecraft, but again, you know? Yeah, I mean, Delta Green started as Call of Cthulhu, right? Delta Green began under Call of Cthulhu. There's so much untapped cosmic horror potential. My fantasy setting is very cosmic horror, right? But it has no crossover with Lovecraft. Nice. You're saying the ideas he popularized are starting to get stale? No, what I'm saying is, if I want cosmic horror, by its nature, Cthulhu doesn't scare me. Because Cthulhu has been done to death. Cthulhu has been chibified. Cthulhu has been made a marketable plushie. Cthulhu has been looted, I'm sure. So, or no, literally, with the Sucker for Love game. So, like, Lovecraft, despite being based in the fear of the unknown, ultimately, completely, absolutely fails at its one mission because it's become so saturated. Sucker for Love, let's play on the main channel when? I've never played it. I have not watched a playthrough of it. I don't know anything about it outside of the fact that there's a couple like Lovecraft deities. I would be down to play Sucker for Love. We are lying to dead God's open grave as a setting. You got me into the Kane TTRPG. Me and my friends are doing the first session tomorrow. Yay! Have fun, ain't no way. Oh no, the true enemy of horror, familiarity, is impossible to be scared of it. No, so I don't think that it's impossible to be scared by them. I think I'm not scared of Cthulhu. Also, I'm weird where if I was to learn that in the great game of the universe, Earth was merely a speck in the twinkle of an eye of the lesser spawn of the lower court of the grand cosmic thing, I don't care. I still have to pay my taxes. I don't care. I'm still going to make YouTube videos. Like, despite the fact that in the universe, I don't matter. I don't matter anyway. You know how big the universe is. You know how big the galaxy is. You know how big the sun is. I am nothing before the sun. Why should I care where I am before Azathoth, the blind idiot god, right? So I don't care about like that insignificance, right? I have peace with my place in the universe as it exists. So this doesn't scare me. And then the fact that it's just so desensitized takes away from it. I think cosmic horror is one of those genres that you kind of have to constantly innovate. Because like slasher horror, put on a different mask, use a different signature weapon, boom, it's a different franchise. Monster horror, make a new monster design, have them like kill the characters in new and exciting ways. Like dystopian horror, have the have the government just kind of enact different named policies that are all identically the same across settings. Like they're all functionally the same. Cosmic horror is kind of unique where you kind of need to innovate on it. And I think the fact that we're stuck in the tar pit of Lovecraft really takes away from cosmic horror. They really did Azathoth 30, the blind idiot god is so mean. And his idea of horrors beyond human comprehension feels pretty comprehensible to me. Horrors beyond my comprehension? I don't know. I comprehend them perfectly fine. Seems like a bit of a skill issue. Yeah, Cthulhu doesn't scare me anymore, specifically because Cthulhu saves the world. I have a theory that making Cthulhu mainstream disempowers Cthulhu. I mean, yeah, but like, Cthulhu isn't even Cthulhu's name. Like, it's not supposed to be Cthulhu. It's supposed to be incomprehensible. It is supposed to be impossible to pronounce for mortal tongue. Please ignore my model. Ah! Get in there. Freaking. Okay. It's in. Is it? Gonna slip out? What the heck? Okay. Alright. I just had to plug in my phone. And I was struggling to make it fit. The IRS is the true unfathomable cosmic power. Yes! A faceless, massive, incomprehensible power that requires a sacrifice and arcane ritual to keep appeased. The stream is now certified error door. No. Who was it? I had a stream the other week where I couldn't find something. And so I was making noises. And then someone in chat just goes like, oh no, Arrow Whimpers has done something to my brain chemistry. And I'm like, what do you mean? Arrow noises? I was writing a joke and got jump scared by the noise. Shut up, okay? I like that Pacific Drive when it's weird things barely understood. I hate those mannequins. Pacific Drive is a game where you literally are just driving through the wasteland, right? Voices of the Void was actually one that I really enjoyed the cosmic horror of. It was really good at being creepy without being scary. I've heard it described a comedy game wearing a horror game coat of paint. I could try Voices of the Void again. I died at one point because I fell off a cliff and I was like, okay, I'm done for now. And then I just haven't gone back to it. Reminds me of a feel-good premise I made once. A guy who resists Eldritch knowledge because he's too much of a family man. So he just tosses a priceless book holding all the secrets of Nyarlathotep. Oh my gosh. How would you do a kaiju game where specific aspects would you like to explore with the kaiju genre? I would want... I mean... Girlfriend is right there. I mean, I would want Lancer versus Kaiju. Well, okay, so if we're talking Kaiju, are you making your Kaiju? Or are we fighting Kaiju? Because if you're making your Kaiju, I would want it to be Lancer, but instead of mechanical parts, it's biological components. You can develop a phosphorescent undercoat which you can shine to dazzle sensors and decrease the accuracy of incoming attacks. I want you to be able to develop a vestigial set of secondary arms, which if your main set gets damaged or destroyed in some case, you can rapidly reform your biomass to grow out your second arms at the cost of ejecting your first set of arms. So you basically can repair your arms. I want a distendable jaw that is so wide that it can eat an entire 18-wheeler and has the bite force to crush a skyscraper. Like, I want that to be the sort of stuff that you put your upgrades in. And then I want you to have to deal with, like, military. I want you to deal with tanks and jets. And I want you to deal with, like, probably there would be, like, little, like, size 1/2 mechs. And then I would want you to be able to fight, like, comparable, like, U-sized mechs. And I would want there to be Kaiju v Kaiju battling. I would want you to be Godzilla protecting Tokyo from King Ghidorah. Like, that is what I would want if you're playing as the Kaiju. Let me take the T-Rex head and just swing the thing like an axe. I'm kind of missing Foss right now. I don't know why. Well, you have the VODs. I'm surprised that you missed Foss, like, given how much of a struggle it was to get through. Making and fighting? I like watching Zach Hazard stream Voice of the Void. The nonchalance of him being so done with the paranormal happenings is hilarious juxtaposition. Like, I kept getting startled by things that surprised me, because, like, I'm jumpy. And the realest scream I've ever screamed on stream is from Voices of the Void. And it's from the llama. I screamed so loud, my roommate came from another room to check on me because they thought something had happened to me. Odds of a Resident Evil 1 Let's Play?
fairly high, actually. I have never played any Resident Evil game. I want to. It's just a matter of, like, in total transparency, I don't have much incentive to play games on stream because I only stream once per week, and viewership tends to not be as good on the Saturday streams as it is on YouTube streams. So I don't have an incentive to stream more. So I'm only doing one stream per week, and I need to finish up Darkwood, and then I'm going to play through the Titanfall 2 campaign, and then I don't know what I'm doing from there. But like, I'm absolutely like, I want to play the Resident Evil games at some point. And like, that's something where if I get more Twitch viewership, I would be more inclined to like play games like that, because I don't have that game. I can't justify buying it. Have I heard of Fears to Fathom? Fears to Fathom. Yes, someone told me about this, and I looked into it, and I forgot about it. I could play Fears and Fathom on stream. I think it's just because you're more known on... I mean, I am more known on YouTube. Absolutely. So, like, I could swap fully from Twitch over to YouTube, and I could do, like, a gaming stream on YouTube. But the issue with that is I'm not a gaming channel. I'm a TTRPG channel, which is why I try to keep most of my YouTube streams TTRPG oriented, at least in some capacity. So I do like having the decoupling. It's just a matter of... it's disheartening. It's disheartening to see that, like, viewership is, like 50+% lower on Twitch stream, and, like, the chat is slower, and, like, yeah, I'm playing a game, but also, like, it sucks. Which I understand is kind of me, like, it's me having a beautiful, wonderful house that is YouTube, and stepping outside into the rain, and then complaining about getting wet, right? Like, I'm complaining about something that is very solvable, and that is the direct result of comparison to something else. I understand that, but it's just something that's been on my mind. And thus Arrow Plays was born. I mean, I have a VOD channel. I have a VOD channel with all my Twitch streams. Just watch Queso and get some popcorn. I'm not going to do React content. You must tear off a piece. Enjoy. Voices of the Void can be handily defeated with an Australian attitude of, oh, get out of here, you weirdos. See, what I did in Voice of the Void, I just did not really care too much about the scary bits. I was like, whoa, cool. And then the first thing I got was like that little robo helper, because I think that they're cute. I named it Rory. And I got scared by jump scares. Which, like, if you've ever seen me play any game ever, you know I am weak to jump scares. I will get startled, I will jump, I will scream. I am a very, like, I don't know. Would you say I'm high energy or low energy? This stream, I definitely feel like I've been more high energy. But, like, I feel as though I'm someone who, like, I'm very responsive to my environment. I'm somewhat jumpy. At least depends on when. Am I gonna need to avoid Voice of the Void for spoiler shit? Nope, you're fine. Moist critical jump scares you. Woo! What's my favorite TTRPG magic system? Probably City of Mist. Ooh. It's either City of Mist or Vampire the Masquerade. So City of Mist has 4 like play books that you have, like 4 nodes, and they're either tied to your mythos or your logos. Your mythos is the story within you that's trying to tell itself again. King Arthur, Zeus, Enkidu, Gilgamesh, Don Quixote. Your logos is your mundane life. Being a school teacher, having a joyous personality, being an alcoholic, being married to someone, having kids, that kind of stuff. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. In any combination of 1 and 3 or 2 and 2. So you might have 1 logos, 3 mythos. You might have 2 logos, 2 mythos. You might have 1 mythos, 3 logos. And the idea is that all of these have tags powered by the apocalypse. So your mythos, you might have 1 power from like Heracles, where it's like super strength. And you might have another mythos from Heracles, which is divine constitution. And you might have a third mythos from Heracles, where it's like the labors of Heracles. And then your final logos is that you are a Muay Thai instructor, right? So all of these get you like 3 or 4 tags, and anytime you make a roll that a tag would be applicable, you get a +1 to a maximum of +3. That's the magic system. So if I have the tag in my strength ability for Heracles, which is like I don't know, part the river and like wrestle the Nemean lion and the strength of 10 men. Like if I have something that the strength of 10 men would help, I get a +1 to the roll. But also, if I have something where being a Muay Thai instructor would also help, I get another +1. So mechanically, the magic is identical to the real life skills that you have from your daily life. If you're depressed, that gives you as much power as being the reincarnation of Zeus. That's the example I love giving. In Vampire the Masquerade, you have powers that may or may not require a rouse check. As a vampire, you have hunger. And when you use a power, you might need to make a rouse check. You take a die, you roll your d10. On a 6 or higher, you're fine. On a 5 or lower, you get hungrier. So the idea being, with powers, if you roll hot, they're free. And some powers, generally level 1 powers, tend to always just be free. They don't even have a rouse check. So with Vampire the Masquerade, it's a fantastic push your luck system because you have 5 hunger. At 5 hunger, you go crazy. And you can only go down to 0 by draining a human and killing them. So usually you'll be at 1 or 2 hunger. So if I'm at 1 or 2 hunger, I can spend a power. I made my rouse check. I spend another rouse check. I made it. I spend another rouse check. I made it. I can just keep using my powers. And my powers are like, you go invisible. You make someone forget the last 15 minutes. You tell someone to do something and they have to do it. You can instantly kill humans and break bones with just a squeeze. You can never lose your balance. Like, it's really niche, but really powerful powers that are perfect for an urban ambush predator. I like how loosey-goosey the City of Mist system is. A lot of room for creative use. Exactly. Rebrand the VOD channel, game to your heart's content. I mean, that's what I do, right? I game over on Twitch, and I try my best to ignore the fact that, obviously, my main channel that has a core audience where I make content that the audience is looking for is gonna do better than my side channel, than the Twitch channel. I respect that. It's just kind of like when I'm playing Darkwood, I'm like, oh man, barely anyone's chatting. It feels a little sad. But like, obviously, if I play like TF2, if I play Titanfall 2, probably more people are gonna be chatting because there's more stuff that's like actively happening. Darkwood is a very slow game, which might be part of it. People were very active during Dispatch. I played Dispatch last year. Hollow Knight, I had people constantly yapping. So it's really also a matter of game. I need to catch streams again. No, you're fine. I really do like the Warlockian type of magic, aka barter magic. I do like that as well. Like a patron chain, a pyramid scheme where you become a patron to someone else who you're a servant of. Oh my gosh. I was gone for a while, so sorry for re-asking like thing progress. So I already said this earlier, and I think some dude is gone, so they can just watch the VOD. I'm making progress, all right. DM Challenge 4. You're going to run a Smiling Friends game where what systems are you using, how many games you running, and how do you sell your players on it? I have not seen Smiling Friends. I know it is a show where I think they go to people who are depressed and try to make them smile. Honestly, Wild Sea. I would probably run Wild Sea for that. Or like Perfect Draw or something. But like, I think Wild Sea would be really fun for that. Because Wild Sea, the journey is the game. So you're going from like collection of populace to collection of populace, trying to find the person you're trying to cheer up, and the actual struggle is getting to them. And then you might have to learn how to speak their language, and you have to communicate with them, and as well as social abilities. I think that would be very fun. How would I sell my players? I'd say like, hey, do you want to play Smiling Friends? And if they say, what's that? I would say, I don't know. Do you want to play it? And then say, sure. In your Stone Age TTRPG, are there spirits like in Werewolf the Apocalypse? Like Gaia is mostly what I'm thinking. So not quite the same as like Werewolf the Apocalypse. Ether just kind of suffuses the entire world. I want there to, like, culturally, yes, there are absolutely spirits. They see spirits and worship them, and there's like faith and religion and spiritualism tied to it. I don't know if I want there to actually literally be magic for it. I don't know if I want there to be magic. I want there to be alchemy. I want there to be elixirs. But I think that's the most complex you get, right? A world soul mayhaps? I don't know. Because like in my world, in my setting, magic is ultimately powered by belief. Magic is fundamentally tied to belief. Belief makes it so. Therefore, it's reasonable to just kind of say like, yeah, there is spirits in every rock and forest and stream and whatever. Or you could say that nothing has a spirit and it's all just animated by ether, but ether is like the lifeblood of the world soul, like whatever it ends up being. Do you have a favorite food? I do. For the longest time, my answer would be crab legs. And for my birthday, I would get crab legs for like once a year celebration. I still really like them. My tolerance has gone way down. I cannot handle them as well as I used to. And I actually still have some frozen from my birthday that I need to use up. Because it was easier to buy like, I don't know, probably like 5 pounds rather than like 1 pound. Because like for my birthday celebration, I just like made some crab legs. I split some with one of my roommates. We eat, like they had like 2 legs, I had like 3 or 4. And then we have like a whole another half of crab left. So it's like, okay, well, I used some of those in the days since, and then I have some more to use again. I really like crab legs, just with some butter. But now that I've like been making it myself, I'll add some like garlic to the butter. I'll add some seasoning to the water as we boil them. Could you reflavor Vampire the Masquerade for Vampire's World? Absolutely, yeah. There's even a blood bond mechanic where it's like you are bound to your sire. Your sire binds you, gives you powers, and then you can bind other people and give them powers. And they are weaker than you are, just as you are weaker than your sire, and just as your sire is weaker than their sire. I have to play Slay the Spire 2. Thank you for the stream. Enjoy! Oh man, I need to check out Slay the Spire 2. The Necromancer seems so silly. Like, I really enjoyed Slay the Spire 1. I didn't like grind it. Like, it didn't catch me the same way other games have. And it hasn't caught me the same way that it caught other people. But also, like, I only got into it like a year and a half ago. So I would be down to try out Slay the Spire 2. It's just a matter of picking it up. If you play, who do you main in Smash Bros? I have a couple. Link, Samus. I play a little bit of Marth, not really. I used to play some Sheik. Honestly, I really enjoy Little Mac. I've played a good amount of Simon. Yeah, like those are my mains. I would say, like, I play a little bit of Marth, a little bit of Roy. I don't really play Sheik that much. Like, I mostly play characters that are really popular in Melee. That's what I mostly grew up with. I also had the N64 version. I also had Brawl. And I don't know. I float in characters. Like, if I was to join a tournament, I would probably choose Little Mac because I have a lot of fun playing Little Mac, even though he's not that good. Or I'd probably pick like Link, Samus, Simon, and Little Mac. Probably are my main for it. I would choose. You love the Necromancer. It has Doom. Doom. What do you mean, Doom? Ah, dude, imagine warlocks just fighting each other in the streets casting spells. That's just the Shadow Wizard money gang. They love casting spells. Sorry about the nothing question. I accidentally hit enter. Actual question. How do you handle having a bunch of projects all going on at once? Like finishing stuff instead of starting something new? I do start stuff new. I have repeatedly been starting stuff new. This Neolithic, I started this like 8 months ago. And I bounced to the distortions, and I bounced to synthop, and I bounced to even like the Inigo Montoya like archetypes one. And really what it is that it's making sure I meet my deadlines. I impose deadlines on myself, and I'm fairly strict about those, which is why I'm constantly apologizing every time I miss a deadline. Because ultimately, you're lovely. You're so sweet, and you're so kind, and so forgiving, and I appreciate it so much. So I feel I need to keep myself accountable to not just constantly ignore my deadlines. But like, what I will do is if a project is dragging on and I have an idea that's just like burning within my soul, I will focus on that other thing. And I try my best to not let it get out of hand. I try to ensure that I'm actually wrapping up my projects. But as you saw, there was a good couple months where I was constantly talking about Project X and then Project Y and Project Z. And now that I've kept with them, because I have the discipline and the basically self-restraint to, okay, I have like 5 projects. I'm going to start finishing them. I finally wrapped up Distortions. I finally wrapped up Synthop. I did Bad Deals in like an afternoon. I didn't allow myself to get to the point where I can no longer juggle. Once I realized I was kind of at capacity, I realized I don't want to be the sort of person who just constantly has good ideas and never delivers anything. So let me finish up, I just finished up Synthop, let me finish up the Distortions. After the Distortions, I want to finish up Neolithic. After Neolithic, let me work on this archetype one. I want to pare down my workflow. I want to pare down the things in my brain right now. Is the ponytail new, or am I just hecka oblivious? No, it's been around for a while. The thing is, I also have a toggle where I can have my hair down, and I had that for a long time, but like for probably at least 6 months, I've had the ponytail up, right? Like definitely all of 2026. And probably a couple months before then too. Because like in the Christmas outfit and the maid outfit, I have ponytail up. And really, I preferred the ponytail. That's what I tend to wear anyway. Or I'll tend to do like a bun. Like right now I have a bun in. But if I look spoofier than before, nope. If I put my hair in a ponytail right now, I can match my model. I can match my model. My hair, I don't know why, like slightly damp. So it was catching on my hair tie. So yeah. Shut up. Are you serious? Was that actually like just a big brain play that you had? Was I played? Was I goofed? Oh my gosh. I've been exploited. Anyway, it's been 3.5 hours. I intended to be done after 2 hours. I made no progress, but I had a fun time. So I hope you had a fun time too. Be on the lookout for Darkwood stream tomorrow. Girlframe is not happening Sunday. I'm going to be making a separate release on Sunday. And then next week, no Wednesday stream. Friday stream should be the normal Wednesday stream. I'll have to double check my timings because I don't know if I'll be back by then, but I should be good by Friday and I can do a normal stream. Expect a lot of Arrow answers next week. Expect a lot of like stream clips and meme voiceovers. Those are all very simple stuff. I'm not going to be doing like a 40K video next week. Enjoy. Have a lovely day, afternoon, evening, night, whenever, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.